What's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horton. This is the NWA. It's the podcast celebrating the past, present, future history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the National Wrestling Alliance, but we're also going to talk about all the wrestling news you want to talk about. Plus, we're watching Hell in a Cell, which is on right now. And as always, I am joined by my life partners. Hey, it's Will.Daly. Hello, Will.
Hello.
Great.
I was muted.
And we're also joined by...
I just now tried to locate my headphones, and I was like, I probably should have done that before right now. So what's up, everyone?
And we're also joined by the doctor, the legitimate doctor. He's a real doctor. He can perform a tracheotomy on an airplane if need be. Dr. Rob Stinson.
I got the student loans to pay it, guys, or to prove it. Student loans to prove it, man. I jacked up my first line of the night. Next note card.
No hat on. I have no hat on, Ryan Romano. Thanks for pointing that out. No, I just got a fresh new haircut, so I decided to let it flow. It's happened rarer than normal because of the COVID, but I got freshened up. I missed the ending of the Jeff Hardy Elias match that just happened, so maybe somebody can tell me what happened. But it's great to see wrestling with the MMA. Turbo's in the house. It's good to have him back. Front row's here. Woodland Goblin's here. Ryan Romano, as I mentioned. Thank you for saying I look good. I appreciate that. Tell my wife, please. And anyway, so we've got Hell in a Cell on in the background. We're going to talk about wrestling news and all the stuff. So share it with your friends, share it with Twitter. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're a brand new person here. That would be great. 90s Wrestling Podcast in the house. Check him out if you guys haven't. It's got a great podcast. And he I don't remember his name, and I don't care to because he didn't remember mine. So anyway,
he's got
apparently Jeff Hardy hit Elias with a guitar. That's
one of the best, absolute best interviews with Nick Aldis out there. It's good. It's up there with the Van Vliet interview. So
yeah, all right. Well, that's enough of putting him over. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. We like that guy. All right. So if you're just joining us at Hell in the Cell, I mean, what we've already seen is the Roman Reigns match was first, which I have no idea why, because that was legitimately, I think, the best story going into this pay-per-view, guys. But Jimmy came in to save Jay, and then Jimmy got locked in a chokehold, and then Jay tapped out for him or said, "I quit," and then that's the end of that. That is what happened. And Roman Reigns is the tribal chief. Rob, tell us your thoughts on this whole storyline as it has unfolded so far.
Man, I mean, it's about family dynamics, man. It's about, imagine yourself. You offered to take May Valentine to a show, and your wife, you had to inform your wife, and she was like, "All I wanted was you to acknowledge me. That's all I wanted." Imagine that scenario. That's what you saw. It was a brutal match. It was good, man. I don't know enough of the backstory. I know that it looked like that family's a little bit dysfunctional, something about being a tribal chief and people not respecting each other and all that. But it was it was brutal.
We legitimately, I knew that you did not know, so that was some great covering. I was happy to throw it to you, and so good job covering up. For those who don't know, though, everything that Rob just said there was completely accurate. He did have May Valentine on a trip this past weekend, and well, congratulations, Rob. You and May got to hang out. You went to a wrestling show together, saw James Storm. Did James Storm acknowledge you guys at the show?
Absolutely. I mean, James Storm and May Valentine are very, very close friends, and so it was cool to get to, and James recognizes us from the podcast, so it was cool. It was really, really neat, and I had a great time. Hey, if you want to call it a date, call it a date. Who am I to tell you no? But it was like I finally understand you, May, because like her, I'm often misunderstood just as a sex symbol. That people don't respect my intellect because of my looks. Yeah. May Valentine is one of the most intelligent people I've ever spent time with face to face. It was a great time, and we'll talk more about it later.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot. I have an interview with May Valentine on the NWA podcast. You can go back and check out. And I only say that not to put myself over, but to put her over. Like I found her legitimately, and I say this like multiple times, I think in the interview, like she's one of the most fascinating people I've had the chance to interview. We talk about everything from, she's a published author of multiple books. She's a TV star, interviewer. Like she's done so many different things in the business and dealt with so many celebrities and rock stars, that sort of thing. And also we talk about ghosts and hauntings and all kinds of stuff. It'd be a perfect Halloween listen. So go back and check that out if you haven't. She's a really cool lady. I'm a big fan of May Valentine. Yes. Mara Diaz Gomez. She could say it better than us because she speaks Portuguese, and
she is training, man. She is training. Her dream. This is, like you said, she is the daughter of a noted Brazilian playwright, the only Brazilian ever to be nominated for an Oscar award. Published at 16 years old in Portuguese, and is currently working on her 4th novel. And her dream, having done all that, her dream is to wrestle. She's working. She's training right now as we speak, and she's going to achieve it. So,
yeah, absolutely. She talks about that in that interview, like Billy reaching out to her during that. But like one of her main reasons for going for that was just a lot of stuff she's been through in her life and everything. But she viewed when she saw the Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair stuff in WrestleMania, that really triggered in her like that female wrestling could be like this empowerment piece, like her female empowerment, a really great stage play, like putting forth female athleticism and that sort of thing. So that's what got her into actually wanting to become a wrestler. So very cool. But anyway, yeah. So then Rob got to hang out with her. So screw the rest of us, I guess.
That was cool. I had no clue that was gonna happen, Rob. So like I'm just as shocked as everyone else when I pull open Instagram and I'm like, whoa, wait, what? So you can let us know.
Well, it's like the thing is, like, I live in Northwest Georgia. This is true. You look at like wrestling, where the great centers of independent wrestling are, and NWA isn't independent, but it's not. It doesn't have that stage that the WWE and AEW has. But if you look at the centers of wrestling, training and scholarship, you're looking at Middle Tennessee. You're looking at California with like Santino Brothers and New Japan Dojo in LA. Then you've got like Austin, Texas, San Antonio with Mission Pro and what they're doing out there. And it just so happens that of all those places, the most vibrant place in the world to be in wrestling is in Middle Tennessee, with tried and true, the greatest school, period. That's the school that Tom Latimer's at. That's where Nick Aldis is at. That's where Camille's at. It's Harvard for wrestling. If you want to train and learn, that's Harvard, And so because of the NWA, she just has connections here, and she just happened to be in Nashville. I'm an hour from Nashville, so it just worked out, man. And it was cool, and it was an absolute blast. Had a great time, learned a lot, man. And she very humble. She shouldn't be, but she is. And we just had a blast. And she. The funny thing is, when we got to we were going to see this show at the American Wrestling Federation, and I've been saying for years, I've been telling people like, who's May Valentine? They're like asking about May Valentine. They know her very briefly. So, well, she's the one who looks like my wife, Tanya. And sure enough, when we were in the arena, I had like 4 or 5 people. It's like, dang, I'm glad Tanya was able to come tonight. I'm glad she's getting to do commentary and all that. It's like, well, that wasn't Tanya, bro. That was May Valentine.
You know what? I have to say, not that I was not going to tell you that your wife is hot, but legitimately earlier, I was showing Jennifer, I was like, oh yeah, Rob sent me this picture. Look at this picture. And he was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, yeah, it's cool. He's like hanging out with May Valentine. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like he's with May Valentine at this thing. And she's like, oh, I thought that was Tanya. Who is that? Like, show it to me again. And I showed it back to her. And she was like, oh, I thought that was Tanya.
There's a wrestler. His name's Jerry Sampson. And he's a really, really great Tennessee area wrestler. He's a good looking guy, big guy. He would definitely make it on a big stage like Impact or something. I've known this guy very closely. We've been good friends for years, for 8-9 years, man. And he knows Tanya. He knows her. And he was like, oh, hey, Tanya. And then he's like, oh, wait a second. It's not Tanya. So that's true, man. It's uncanny.
Well, hey, if you're going to be compared to somebody, I mean, being compared to Tanya is a good quality. So you're lucky, May.
Yeah, man.
Good job. That's me putting over Tanya. Did you see that?
I like that.
Yeah. Well, the Goblin, I'm glad you asked where you can find my other show. It's called @cinema_shock. I'm just going to throw that out there. Since it was asked, I would not normally just bring it out, but there it is. Gary, where can I find your horror movie channel? It's not just horror. I mean, right now we're doing a whole series on George Romero, but and it's Halloween time. So, but I think coming up, like the next series, we're actually going to be covering the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. So, so it's everything. We go all over the place. Anyway, all right, I'll stop putting over the other thing, but it's @cinema_shock. Still working on the YouTube channel, getting that ready, but it'll launch here in just like the next week, I think. Anyway, guys, how do you feel about Roman Reigns being the tribal chief? Will, we didn't get your thoughts on that. That happened. Anything you want to cover there before we move on?
I mean, I was kind of shocked it was match number 1 too. I mean, I haven't been like actively following these storylines. I think we've been putting a lot more of our time into things like Primetime Live and a lot of these indie shows that we're talking about. But I personally like heel Roman Reigns. I think it's a good storyline. It was weird that it was the first match, but I think that they worked well together in the ring. And I've been kind of reading some stuff about potential spoilers, but you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt as far as where they're going with this storyline. And I think it's going to be cool. I like that the Usos are getting a different spotlight put on them. I think they're uber talented and they deserve it. So I'm hoping it's going to elevate everyone involved.
I agree. And let's see, what else was I thinking here? Storm is in Ohio, so it looks like Bound for Glory might have been a one-shot as Impact are doing tapings tomorrow. That's what 90s Wrestling Podcast says. So, yeah, Storm was a part of Bound for Glory. We're going to talk about Bound for Glory here in just a minute and get into that. But I had something else I was going to say, and it totally slipped my mind. But whatever. Doesn't matter. This is a loose show, right? Like, we just hang out.
It's the Sunday show, man. It's the weekend.
We at the club, man. We at the club. We just get man.
We're just talking wrestling.
That's all, man.
So far on Hell in the Cell, for those who aren't watching along, Roman Reigns ended up winning his match, and Jeff Hardy hit Elias with a guitar. Those are the things that have happened. I will say that I am just now sitting down with my first glass of whiskey of the evening, and it'll be my only glass of whiskey for the evening. And I established that up front to tell you that I did watch the pre-show while I was sitting here taking notes, and R-Truth was on it, the panel with Jeff Jarrett and Booker T, and I laughed my ass off. And I am not going to lie, I legitimately thought R-Truth was super funny, and I just have to give props where it's due.
Man, R-Truth is definitely like a superstar. And if you don't follow him on TikTok, if you are on TikTok and you don't follow him, change that immediately, because he is killing it on TikTok. He takes every like new trend that comes out and he puts his own spin on it, and it's incredibly entertaining, man. That dude is vastly undervalued, underappreciated, I think, in terms of like his contribution to entertainment, wrestling, all that stuff, because he's awesome.
We had a conversation about R-Truth the night before last at the show. Me and there are a couple of guys in the AWF that I think are just superstars in the making. Alex Taylor is my favorite. Brian Valor's up there. These guys are working it, man. But we had gotten into this conversation about R-Truth, and it's like, one, he always gives me Pope vibes. You know what I'm saying? He gives me Elijah Burke vibes, or vice versa. I guess it's Elijah Burke gives me R-Truth vibes. But R-Truth, we have been saying this on this show for freaking months, man. This Joker is underappreciated as a former NWA champion, as a once and future champion. And I'm with you, Gary, man. I had this on in the background as we were getting ready, getting our notes together and stuff, and I was rolling, boy. And Tanya was like, "What is you laughing at?" I'm like, man. But anyway, man. Yeah, I loved it.
Well, one news item of the night that, like, I don't think I prepped either of you for that I do want to bring up that I'm just curious about. Since we're in the realm of comedy wrestling right now, I have to ask you. I sat down yesterday, sight unseen, no preconceived notions. I did not know what I was going to watch. I had somehow avoided all spoilers. And yesterday afternoon, I sat down and watched AEW. And decent show overall on everything, but there was a segment with MJF and Chris Jericho sitting down to have a meal together, and they busted out into a damn musical. And Rob, first thing, I thought of you and Piper. I thought of you guys, and I watched this thing, and I'm gonna be straight up. I was in awe. I laughed. When my wife got home from hanging out with her mom, I pulled it back up and made her watch it. So I hate to be the guy that's going to not back up our prize fight wrestling crew, but
Hey,
you got me, man. The musical segment with Jericho and MJF got me. And I thought, by the way, I was listening to Meltzer's podcast today, and somebody had written in and asked this question yesterday, and he didn't know the answer to it apparently. But he said today he confirmed it was MJF's idea. Like the whole thing was MJF's planned spot, and like he was watching what's the Elton John movie? I can't even think of the name of the movie now.
Yeah, it's the Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man. He was watching Rocket Man, and he was like, "I want to do this with you, Jericho." And Jericho was like, okay, but he had picked some song out from that to cover, and Jericho wanted to do this song that they ended up doing, so they negotiated it out and did this one song. But anyway, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the MJF and Jericho segment from AEW.
So I haven't seen it yet. I've just had a really crazy week, but I've heard so many interesting things about it, including the recap that you just gave, and I can't wait to go back and watch it at some point soon. We talked about this before, but Chris Jericho is he's a legend. He, whether he's your cup of tea or not, I think the reality that we are seeing unfold in front of us is that as he, continues to evolve and eventually retires, it's sad to think about, but it's going to happen. He's going to leave a wake of like future superstars behind him, people that he has elevated through doing a musical spot with a guy like MJF, through doing a mimosa match with a guy like Orange Cassidy. And so this is just more of Chris Jericho, in my opinion, being completely selfless and saying, hey, I'm going to do something I never thought I would do, and something out of my comfort zone to put a guy over. And so I'm excited to go check it out.
My natural instinct sort of hate something like that. I'm not going to lie, but there are certain people that get a pass for me. Like, obviously, if Nick Aldis were to go out there and do it, hey, my blessings. You know what I mean? Chris Jericho is one of those ones where he can do whatever the freak he wants, and I'm going to support it. He's earned the right to get my unfiltered, implicit respect no matter what he does. But I'm going to tell you, honestly, with something like that, I look to my kids and see what my kids like. Obviously, Piper popped for it. She liked it. And then I look to other people like that I respect in the fam, like Front Row, Vanessa Wiper, some of these people. And I kind of like get their perspective, and they all liked it, man. So, I got to give it a thumbs up. It's not my typical cup of tea. It's not prize fighting, but one, it's Jericho, so he gets the mullet, he gets to play the get out of jail free card, and then the people that I respect in this community the most really appreciated it. So therefore I do.
I'm catching up on stuff. So like, I assume that when I go back and I listen to like Cornette Show or something like that, it's not going to be pretty. I totally imagine that. And I don't know. I think that I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like you said, I said that I think with that preface, I'm seeing it in the chat already. Like some people just aren't the fans of that sort of thing. I think that if it had happened like mid-match or something, I would have had a bigger problem with it. But I don't know. As it was presented, for some reason, it got me. It won me over. Maybe it's just the musical loving side of me or something else. I don't know. But I was a fan of this segment. And like I said, it's the first segment I've seen in forever that like my wife got home and I was like, I got to show you this that just happened, and that I knew she would be like, what is happening right now? Is this wrestling? And, which I mean is another thing to talk about, I guess. But it's just interesting. I think it says something that it was enough to get me excited and make me feel like I had to share it with someone. Let's see what else in the news. I guess it's worth mentioning too. The G1 ended. Kota Ibushi pinned Sonata. And I guess we should also mention that Tucker just turned on Otis, and I don't know these. I feel so distracted. I don't know. Like we're doing a watch along and that sort of thing. But anyway, Otis just lost his briefcase. I saw that coming. I felt like they were like really trying to get that briefcase away from Otis, and
it felt like it was cool when they were like excited about it when they first put him on him because it was different. But then they were immediately like, oh shit, what have we done? This is not going to work. And they've been looking for a way to get it off of him. And now they have. So I guess Miz is your Mr. Money in the Bank now.
And so there you go. I don't know, man. This show's going to be headlined by Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. And I was thinking about this today, but I was like, I honest to God, and we've, future news coming up. I mean, we've got lots of plans for the show and everything. And like, maybe I need to know more about WWE, but like, what I've known has been like us being on a Sunday night, we're watching stuff. And I'm like, hasn't Drew beat Randy Orton like 15 times already? Like, it feels like they fought a few times and Drew's won every single time, including the last pay-per-view we were at. And I think the one Raw I've watched in between there, he lost to like Keith Lee. Or no, that was on one of the pay-per-views. And like Payback or something, Orton lost to Keith Lee. So I have no idea why they're fighting again tonight. But here we are. So, okay, I'll stop bitching. Kota Ibushi pinned Sonata in the longest match in G1 Climax history to win the most unique version of the tournament there will probably ever be. This is according to Dave Meltzer here. He says Ibushi winning is a big surprise, as in the 30-year history of the tournament, only Masahiro Chono in 1991 and 1992, and Hiroyoshi Tenzan, 2003 and 2004, have ever won the tournament in consecutive years. If you go back to 1974 in the World League, the MSG League, and the IWGP tournament, which was the predecessor of the G1 in New Japan, Antonio Inoki won 2 years in a row in 74 and 75, and Sakaguchi in 1976 and 77. He did say that, let's see, in pre-G1, no wrestler had ever been to the finals 3 straight years like Ibushi has done. Ibushi joins a select group with 2 wins total. Chono holds a record of 5. Tenzan and Tanahashi have 3. Kensuke Sasaki, Tetsuya Naito, and Kazuchika Okada all have 2 wins. If you include pre-G1 annual singles tournaments, Inoki holds the record with 10. And he said also having 2 in history dating back to 1974's inception of the New Japan World League are Sakaguchi, Riki Choshu, and Andre the Giant. So, anyway, just Kota Ibushi putting himself in history there. If you want to follow like actual like worldwide wrestling history, it's just interesting.
The bottom line is it's much easier. It's much easier to win back-to-back World Series, back-to-back college football national championships, back-to-back Super Bowl championships. It's much easier to do that. to achieve this. That's how
Gary, I could listen to you. I could listen to you pronounce those names all day, buddy. You're killing it.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm working hard. Guys, if you haven't already,
it's like listening to Tom Latimer talk, man, with that thick, not Scottish, but that thick accent, boy. I'm like, I don't hear anything he says. All I hear is, "Well, I had the time of my life." I'm just like this. Just keep talking.
I can't wait till we interview Tom Latimer on one of the live shows. Then.
Oh gosh.
We'll get our YouTube video pulled for the soundtrack playing in the background every time Rob gets lost. And guys, if you haven't done it already, at World Cup of Towns is going on. And it's like breaking down like the 2020 World Cup of Towns and Cities in the UK, I believe. It's like but right now the finals are up for Kings Lynn and Liverpool are up for the finals, and the champ. We would be remiss if we did not mention that Nick Aldis is pushing for everyone to go vote for Kings Lynn right now, his hometown. So go vote. And it was losing last I checked, so you need to go vote. He put it out and said, send me a screenshot of your vote for Kings Lynn, and I'll pick one winner to send some free signed swag to. And he said, I bet Mickie James will too. And she actually retweeted and said that, yes, she definitely would. So you can win some free Nick Aldis side swag and Mickie James side swag if you go right now and vote there. It is at World Cup of Towns.
So go vote there. World Cup of UK towns and cities.
Well, I know you're used to MySpace, but on Twitter, how this works is that's the name that they have, but the actual @ is World Cup of Towns.
What? Hold on, man. I mean, what is it? What you said? You on Twitter?
He does know Twitter. Rob does know Twitter.
But anyway, all right. Let's move on. I want to give a quick shout out to Vader Media, because one of my favorite people to look at, and if you've watched this show long enough, you know back in the day that like we've talked a lot about Gary Vaynerchuk and Gary V. One of his big projects is Vader Media, where they are a sports agency, and they've been targeting recently like MMA, and they've teased some wrestling interests. They just signed Charlotte Flair on the Vader Media. So I think that's kind of interesting. They've signed a number of major MMA fighters and other sports stars like Stipe in MMA, and I think Eddie Alvarez, Chris Weidman, Vitor Belfort, like all MMA guys, but they're working their way into the wrestling arena. So that's going to be kind of interesting, I think. It's just because they'll play ball in the WWE. They'll play hardball, I bet. So it's going to be interesting to see how these actual sports agencies working their way into WWE plays out. So we'll see. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just saying that's right. I was just trying to fill in the dead space there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Yes, Gary.
That's what's up.
Yes. Oh my God.
Gary loves other people named Gary. You ever notice that?
Oh, love a Gary.
Love a good Gary.
You gotta love a good Gary. That was one of the messed up jokes like Elias made earlier on that pre-show. Like when he was making, it was like he had to make up a song on the spot. Did y'all see that? Mm-mm. And like Jeff Jarrett like called him out, and then like part of his song was like, "What is it with guys named Jeff?" And then something like he went into this whole thing about how it's like they always seem to be junkies or something like that. And I was like, "Whoa, that's Elias."
And then Gary's always seemed to be hairy, but not if you have my Manscaped.
No, right? See, that's the thing. That's a misconception. I'm hairy here on the face. I trimmed up here, but like everywhere else, bare. Not like bear, like what you're thinking, Rob. To tone it down. Bear like BARE, because I use Manscaped. Manscaped.com. This Manscaped engineering team spent 18 years developing the best tools for your family jewels. You got to check them out if you haven't already. They sent me a package here recently that has a new blade from Manscaped 2.0, and they sent me some of their new product, which is a foot deodorant. Have you ever heard of that? They do like foot deodorant, which is great. Like you spray it on there so your footsies never get stinky. They also have ball deodorant.
The only thing that would make that better, is 20% off and free shipping if there was some way to get that.
Well, it turns out, Will, there is. If you use the code NWA Pod, you can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com right now. They make great Christmas gifts. NWA Pod. It's NWA POD it's just at manscaped.com. Just go. You'll have a place where you can put in like a promo code. Shut up. You shut your mouth. You can do that right now. And if you go, it makes great Christmas gifts for your kids.
I'm going to encourage the viewers, though, to get the 3.0 if you can. Because I'm
mute Rob. Go ahead and mute Rob.
Y'all hit us up on the NWA Discord, which you can join if you haven't already. Hit me up. We'll work it out. We'll get you on there. We'll start a private chat. We'll work up a fund to get Rob the Manscaped, the Lawnmower 3.0. We'll use the NWA Pod promo code. We'll get 20% off.
In the 18 years of action research, they hadn't seen hair quite as coarse as this. So you got all these nicks and cuts, boy. I like to try that 3.0 out.
It's going to take like 3.0s to get through that.
Hey, I've been thinking, man, I'm about to pitch an idea for something that's mind-blowing. The 4.0.
Oh, what? Rob, step into my office. You're fired. Go. Manscaped.com. 3.0. You gotta get it. The lawnmower. You gotta get it. Ball and foot deodorant. You want to be smelling good. Some of y'all still out there looking for ladies. The only way you're gonna land a lady, like, listen, Rob might have had a new wife this weekend, but
hey man, I told her, I told not like I couldn't have. I told her, hey, look, man, I appreciate the offer, but things is going good for me right now, and but I love you still.
Let's put it out there just so we don't disparage anybody. May Valentine was not at all interested in Rob Stinson, like not even slightly.
Don't be imputing like your doggone insecurities to me, man. We was like, we clicked, man. There was electricity. We clicked, man. We connected.
Yeah, that electricity, Rob, was a taser. That's what that was. You missed that.
That's what he burned
got
on.
Too close. You were being too creepy.
For, I was like, dang, where did this come from, man?
Side hugs only, Rob.
Oh, man. Look at this guy. Look at Wrestling with the MMA helping us out. Promo code NWA. But this man, Wrestling with the MMA, that's why he's a mod in the chat, y'all. Right there. That guy. All right. What else is happening in wrestling news? Hey, let's do some Full Gear updates, by the way, because I'll tell you what, one of my favorite things of watching AEW this past week was that, gosh dang, Eddie Kingston is killing it. That boy is murdering the wrestling scene right now. He's going up against Jon Moxley at Full Gear in an I Quit match. I am so excited for that guy, and he is cutting some fire promos. That guy is, I swear to God, I mean, we knew it already, but Eddie Kingston is the man. Like, he is just so good. Yeah. And he laid out Moxley last week, and then this week just cutting another promo, just like responding. And these were like backstage promos this week. And you just, every time that man talks, like, you're just like, I believe anything he says.
Yeah, this is not news to us as NWA fans. This is just what Eddie Kingston has always done on a bigger stage. The coolest part to me is that they're giving him the time. They're giving him the platform. I mean, this dude was being, introduced to AEW just a couple months ago, and now he's getting multiple world title matches. say what you want, man. That is some trust. That is some respect that they are showing him from the booking side to put him in a match like that, a main event match for their world title. And that's the part that excites me is that, man, you know, again, I don't want to turn this into a AEW love them or hate them argument, but really love them or hate them, they're giving guys that deserve it a platform like Eddie Kingston. And this guy has grinded for years and years. He has gotten himself over, and they are recognizing that. And that's exciting for me, obviously as an NWA fan, but just as a pro wrestling fan in general.
Now, hold it right there, Will, because I understand the spirit of what you're saying, but ain't nobody give Eddie Kingston nothing. Eddie Kingston earned that. He earned it with a T, earned it. And like Gary said, we've been saying this. This man is money on the mic. He's money in the ring. He will hold a world championship. He's probably going to hold that one. Probably about to beat Mox. And to my knowledge, I could be wrong. He's only granted one or two, maybe just one interview since going to AEW. Who was that with? Oh yeah, it was with me.
Well, props to Rob. Props to Rob. I'll tell you what it is. Like, based on what you guys are saying. No. What I want to say is, like, from everything we've been saying, like it feels like validation. Like just seeing this guy roll over to AEW and everything that we've been saying about the dude. He rolls into AEW as a player. Like, I mean, you know, he's got like you're hoping for a mid-card spot or something, but this guy immediately worked himself into a main event spot and seems like a legitimate contender to take on Jon Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. So you just feel good, like seeing it. You're like, man, this guy's legit. And you feel, like I said, validated. You were right. This guy's finally getting what he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
The other stuff I wanted to bring up from that show, I think, was just that they the only other stuff from Full Gear that I've seen play out is the FTR versus Young Bucks match, which I'm going to be honest, I don't totally see what they're doing there because the Young Bucks don't exactly seem like good guys, and neither is FTR. And so, like, it feels like a weird build up to this matchup. I want to see these two teams go at it, but whatever. Anyway, I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be good. I still feel like something could happen between now and then. I don't know why. Like, I just feel like something might mess it up. Rob, I have to ask you this. You knew it was coming. Little comment like throw it up in there. Ask Robert Stinson if AEW Championship is a world title.
First of all, Woodland Goblin, my man, I love this guy, and I am snacking tonight. In fact,
oh yeah, he asked about the snacks earlier. Rob brought that jerky.
So here it is. Here's the definitive answer on that. Okay, that's really two questions. Is it the World's Championship? No, it's not. There's only one World's Championship. There's only one World's Championship that I recognize, and that is the one that Nick Aldis holds. Now, there are other World's Championships that are recognized by an entity called Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Like them or hate them, they happen to be the media source that typically people go off of. There's lots to say about that, good and bad. And I know we're gonna see the criticism here in a second, but AEW does have a world title. It is a world title. They defend it. They've not defended it globally yet, but it has that stage. But it's not the World's Championship, the one that matters, the one that we recognize. So when you ask if there's a world title, that's two different questions. It's not the World's Championship. It's not the one that Mike Tyson would hold. That one's Nick Aldis. There's only one World's Championship, out there. Then there are others that have a legitimate claim to a title that should be recognized on a global scale. And that is one of them. And then you've got champions that are right the tier beneath that, and that's the one that UWN's about to put out. They're calling it a world title, but it's not. It's basically a promotional title. But if they depended on a world scale, a global scale, then it might reach that level. But as far as I'm concerned, there's only one World Championship, and that is the one that Nick Aldis holds.
All right, that was a solid answer. I think I'll give you props for that, Rob.
Word.
All right.
Go about snacks.
All right, so chat room, throwing on us what you thinking about this Bayley versus Sasha Banks match. I had a lot of people on my Cinema Shock podcast just become a lot more interested in wrestling because of Sasha Banks, I have to say, because she's showing up in this next season of The Mandalorian, and people are like, dang, who's that girl? I was like, oh, it's Sasha Banks. You don't know about the legit boss. And so a lot of people have become interested in some wrestling, so maybe she'll spread the love out there.
This match has been incredible so far, I will say that, from what I've been able to watch. And this is one of the few long-term storylines in WWE that is finally coming to I think we've wanted to see this match since like 2 WrestleManias ago, probably. Like, they've been building to this for a long time, since these ladies have come up from NXT. And so I'm loving this match. I think Sasha and Bayley are both top tier when it comes to women's wrestling. I mean, obviously we're not going to put them in the same tier as like a Thunder Rosa for us, but they are, in terms of what's happening in the women's division over in WWE, they're doing a great job. So I'm enjoying this match, but love to hear what you guys think. And I did want to give a couple shout outs. There's a couple of people, if you guys, majority of you guys are probably watching us on YouTube, but we're also live right now on Facebook and on Twitter through Periscope. So we've got Pennywise is tossing us some love in the chat from Twitter. And then Jordan is joining us on Facebook. Thank you guys for joining us on those other platforms.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, hopefully you guys will share it. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. Yeah, we're trying to expand this out and reach as many people as possible. That's really cool to have people coming in from other locations.
We've talked about Twitch. We've talked about Twitch a little bit. So we might look at hopping over on Twitch for those of you guys. I know Wrestling with the MMA, you do a lot of stuff over on Twitch and hanging out with some streams over there. So just looking to expand and make sure we can connect with you guys on various different platforms. So appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, we've got lots of plans. I think we've got lots of stuff we're trying to make time to talk about, things we want to do to try to make this more worth your time and our time, like just to expand out and see what we can do. We're having a lot of fun, like obviously with the NWA stuff, but clearly we love talking about Mission Pro Wrestling, and we love talking about the United Wrestling Network. We're doing those after shows right now, but especially with our recent sponsorship of Mission Pro Wrestling, it's like, man, there's a lot of other good wrestling out there we want to make sure we're talking about. And hopefully, like, our crew of people, like the people that watch this show, that kind of thing, we can bring some love to some other places in the wrestling industry that deserve it. And so we're trying to think of the best ways to capitalize on that, I think, right now. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we're going to be doing that big time. Other stuff up for Full Gear. It looks like Cody or Orange Cassidy are going to be defending that TNT title against Darby Allin. It looks like maybe Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for the women's title, and a tournament final, which I would guess it looks like is going to be Kenny Omega and Adam Page, or Omega and Wardlow, depending on how this tournament plays out. But it's going whoever wins that tournament is going to be facing the world champion in February, which will be Moxley or Kingston, presumably. And Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara is also happening at Full Gear. I'm kind of excited to see Full Gear still. I want to see what's going on that show. I know that there's like this weird thing for AEW right now, but for some reason, I'm trying to watch everything I can get my hands on right now, and as much as I can give the time to, or at least catch clips or fast forward through, catch snippets of, and AEW captures my interest more than any of the other major promotions right now. That obviously there's the stuff that we focus in on, like United Wrestling Network and Mission Pro Wrestling and NWA. So, but right now, as far as the two big dogs in the yard right now, like AEW has my interest more than WWE does. And I don't know. I just think they've got a lot more focus on storylines. And what I was thinking of this last week watching it, sorry if I'm rambling here, but what I was thinking of this last week watching it is like they have a tournament right now going on for who's going to be the number one contender for the world's heavyweight championship. And then that finals will take place at Full Gear. and that challenger will go on to face the winner, whoever's the champion in February at their next pay-per-view. And then there's like the Cody and Orange Cassidy thing, but Darby Allin has a TNT title shot at the next pay-per-view, and it's like, I don't know. It's like they always have like something pressing forward, if that makes sense. Like it seems like they're literally always thinking about what's next in line, and I don't feel that way with WWE right now. That's my big thing with it. It always feels like every single match there are stakes involved. And so like they find some way to do it. Even like how we were talking about like last week on United Wrestling Network, like on Primetime Live, like how if they had saved that Mike Bennett match, like if with him and Kratos, like if they had just like saved it, it'd be like we're having like one final entrant into the tournament. These two guys are going to fight for that spot, but instead they already announced Mike Bennett, and you're kind of like, well, there's no way Mike Bennett's going to lose like headed into this world title tournament. It's like AEW does feel like they're constantly thinking about like what's the next thing after this, and we've heard in interviews. I'm still rambling, but I just only. I'm sorry. It just made me think of, as I said that, it's like that's legitimately in an interview with Nick Aldis that I did like back in the day. I remember like, or somewhere it was when he was on with us one time. I remember him talking about that was always a thing he thought about, was like, I don't have a problem with booking however you need to book, like, but tell me what that means next. And I think he was talking about his Impact days. It was like, okay, well, if I drop the title here, like, what's after that? Like, what does that mean for me after? Like, so he was always trying to think about the next step in the storyline.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, that's what you're describing is what we always call prize fight wrestling. I mean, there's always a stake involved in what you're doing, whether it's a feud or a match. Sometimes the prize is pride. Sometimes it's, a grudge that you're working out. But, that mentality is what pro wrestling should be. It shouldn't just be these, random feuds. We've talked about it so many times on this show, but where it's just like a guy walks out on the ramp and I don't like you suddenly, and now we're going to fight, or you attacked me backstage. Like it's there's got to be stakes involved, and AEW does a really good job for the most part of creating that prize fight like feel in a lot of the storylines, whether it's with a title or whether it's with a relationship that's deteriorating. You look at Kenny Omega, Adam Page, that whole scenario. They've done a really good job of building that in. And as wrestling fans, we're going to gravitate towards storylines like that and towards promotions that do that kind of stuff. So I'm like you. I pay way more attention to AEW. For me, it has a lot to do with just being a lifelong wrestling fan. And, at least for the last 20 years, WWE has been the pinnacle, right, in terms of like mainstream wrestling. And for the first time since WCW, there's a shakeup at the top, so that's always going to be interesting no matter where you land in the wrestling world. So, I mean, yeah, I've got my eyes on AEW. We say it all the time, but I'm obviously rooting for them to succeed. But I'm watching with a close eye because I want to see what happens with that dynamic there on like nationally televised mainstream wrestling. So it's super interesting. I'm excited about Full Gear too. And it's funny because I think when it first started coming together, I wasn't too excited about it. But now, as you've mentioned, these different storylines and seeing where they're taking things, I'm kind of the same as you, Gary. I'm kind of like, wow, this is starting to feel really like important. You know what I mean? And that gets more buy-in from me as a wrestling fan.
The lovely Tanya and I were at brunch today talking about what the wrestling landscape is going to look like when the three of us purchase the NWA or our own promotion. And we were talking about, man, she was like, you and Gary and Will should like start an academy, like an academy, not like a wrestling school. You would have that there. We'd bring talent in. Like I would bring like guys like Valor and Alex Taylor in to teach, or to teach to do the ring component. But then there's the
Valor.
Brian Valor and Alex Taylor are my favorite Tennessee wrestlers, and Jeremiah Plunkett, man, they're my favorite Tennessee wrestlers right now. If you don't count Nick Aldis and Tom Latimer because they're, you know, technically Scotch English, whatever, you know. But that was good. But you got like Plunkett, Jeremiah Plunkett, Brian Valor, Alex Taylor. They are brilliant, man. They're great. I would bring them in as like my cohort of instructors. But then we would teach like ring psychology. We would treat like how to build a promo, like what, you know, how Nick Aldis talks about. Hey, if I'm going to recruit somebody, they better know how to do like Ricky Starks did and make his and leverage technology to create a promo, you know, and brand yourself. And then I would do a section on how to build the perfect prize fight. And my first 2 lessons would be these 2 prize fights right here. I'd be like, go look what Thunder Rosa and Brian Rosa did in the lead up to Hell Hath No Fury. Go look at the 70th anniversary NWA pop-up event, man. Go look at that. You want to talk about how to build a prize fight? That's how you do it. Everybody should take note at these shows like that, shows like what the NWA did at freaking Into the Fire. You know, I mean, the Nick Aldis James Storm match. You know, I mean, you got to look at those things. And whatever you say, what you want about the size and the scope of their product, they got that down. They have got the prize fight nailed. You got to watch that. That's scholarship.
I would totally agree with that, man. That's an excellent point. Both those are perfect. I'm looking at like you follow the Mission Pro Twitter account, like Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa are like shooting back and forth on each other. It's kind of fun right now. They're like firing up, and that's cool stuff. I love it. I would say one of the first lessons need to be like self-promotion, like that marketing too, like just that, like putting yourself out there and making sure you engage constantly. I'm thinking personally for myself, like right now, I don't know, for some reason I was just thinking about how Thunder Rosa is already out there like shooting video, like talking about Serena Deeb. Like she's been doing that every single time. God bless her. I saw Priscilla Kelly versus Thunder Rosa, and it was a fantastic matchup. But like Priscilla Kelly, where did she go after that? Like she's just gone, and like she's disappeared. And Thunder Rosa's still out there, like busting her ass. And I'm not trying to like talk crap about Priscilla Kelly. I'm just saying, like, you were in a high profile match against Thunder Rosa that had the attention. Like, now's the time to capitalize on that success. Like, and it was a great match. I would love to see Priscilla Kelly out there, like, pushing herself even more. And for some reason, I just don't feel like I've seen that. That's just an example. I don't mean to, like, target her or anything, because I feel like I'm complimenting her. At the same time, I'm just saying that, like, more wrestlers need to have this drive that, like, someone like a Thunder Rosa has, like, that they're putting themselves out there constantly, like, never stopping with the self-promotion and, like, getting themselves out there. Some people might think that's overexposed, but I totally disagree. Like, that's keeping yourself in the public eye, keeping yourself relevant, especially when you're not on a platform such as an AEW or a WWE. And even those people are steady on social media and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
If she could be out there every freaking day, Thunder Rosa would be out there defending that belt. I'm telling you, that's not overexposure. That is, you're doing the hard work. You're elevating the brand. I don't think Thunder Rosa has done nothing but add to the prestige of the NWA. Allison Kay was a great champion, but the greatest NWA women's champion in my 28 years of life, because I'm only 28, is Thunder Rosa is the greatest women's champion of my lifetime. And I've been around for almost half a century, bro. I'm telling you. They turned this woman loose to save prize fight women's wrestling. You know, let her wrestle Priscilla Kelly again. Let her wrestle Deeb. Let her wrestle whoever. Thunder Rosa is the greatest women's champion of my lifetime.
Yeah, listen, and overexposure only applies if people are getting tired of something. Nobody's tired of Thunder Rosa. Are you guys kidding? Like, that is overexposure is when you've been beaten over the head with something and you're like, okay, stop. Nobody's asking for less Thunder Rosa right now. We're all asking for more. So overexposure is not even a word that can be associated with the trajectory of her career. I want to see her on every every UWN Primetime Live, every episode of AEW, every AEW Dark. Like, it's overexposure. That's a laughable term. It is.
And let's be honest. I mean, UWN has been a lot of fun. There have been some shows that have been better than others. I've enjoyed seeing the menagerie of talent. There are names that I've always heard about, like Chris Dickinson, who I've been like, I'm digging Dickinson, man. I'm really digging him. Other guys that I'm glad to be exposed to. But I am there primarily for Nick Aldis, for Thunder Rosa, for Camille, for Zicky, for my girl May Valentine. I ain't gonna lie,
For Murdoch, baby.
I'm there for that, and I need to see Thunder Rosa, man. There is no formula out there that possibly in any rational world can equate to Thunder Rosa. We're seeing too much of her. There's not. That's ridiculous. She not that anybody's saying that, but I want to see her more and more and more. She's doing a yeoman's task of carrying the NWA. Her and Nick have done a fantastic job, and they are the perfect champions for this time during this global pandemic that we've been going through. So,
well, 2 points I want to make real quick is that the 90s Wrestling Podcast did point out that he thinks, I think he's talking about Priscilla Kelly here, that he thinks her grandfather passed away, so she's been taking time out to deal with that. If that's the case, like, I apologize. I don't mean to, like, pile on Priscilla Kelly, for instance. It was just that she had a great matchup with Thunder Rosa, and I want to give her the credit she deserves, but I also want to point out just like a scenario I see, like if she's got like extenuating circumstances, obviously, then she can't help that. That said,
I think you're making the point, and it's not, it wasn't meant to be specifically at Priscilla Kelly, just like talent in general. Like, everyone has the same access to the same resources through social media, through all that kind of stuff. And it all comes down to the creativity in here and the work ethic here. And everybody has that same opportunity. Thunder's just going out there and taking full advantage of it. And she's reaping the benefits of that because she's doing everything she can to put her talent and her abilities on display. And everybody has that ability. And I think, Gary, the sentiment behind what you were trying to say was that it just seems like other people aren't doing that at that level. And it's not, perhaps because they don't have the talent, but they just aren't like motivated or pushing through, and especially during these circumstances. So, it's like everybody has that opportunity. Why don't more people go do that for themselves?
You're absolutely right. And Nick Aldis, I can't remember. It wasn't too long ago. It was a couple of weeks ago, but he came out, and it was in a podcast or an interview where he mentioned the importance of leveraging the amazing technological resources that we all have to self-promote. And he mentioned Ricky Starks in particular, and that's what made him the #1 draft pick as far as he was concerned. If you are not promoting yourself in the very hard life and world that is pro wrestling, you're not doing your job. If I were in charge, if they're like, hey, here's the keys to the NWA, Stinson, you're in charge, I wouldn't book anybody who couldn't work in the ring, who couldn't talk, and who could not self-promote using technology. And it just so happens that Nick Aldis and Thunder Rosa are graduate level, doctorate level, even experts at this. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're brilliant at it.
Well, if anybody knows doctorate level stuff, it's the Dr. Robert Stinson. Thunder Rosa, by the way, shout out in the chat with us tonight. So you never know who's going to show up. You got to join the chat every once in a while and just see. Right now, Thunder Rosa is hanging out in the chat talking to our people. And she says, quote, overexposure, shit, I've been out for a month, but I've been training nonstop. So
where do you see that at?
Oh, yeah, she was in there. She popped in when we first started talking. You never know. That's what I'm saying. You don't even know who's watching. As soon as we started talking, she popped in with did somebody say our name? Did somebody say my name?
Good evening. Good evening, champ. I apologize. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, she's in there. And but Rob, if it makes you feel better, I'll here you go. Look at that. Right there on the screen.
Boom. There it is. You're right. For some reason, my restream chats aren't loading, but I'm having to look over here at YouTube. But I wish she was in there.
All right. Well, it's
Woodland Goblins talking about Nick Aldis. Come on, bro. We already, we had a good moment. Let's not go. Aldis will defend the championship when it's appropriate, and when the appropriate challenger is there.
That's true. It's got to make it money. He said that. Like, if the money's there,
is
the
no
challenge is there, the money's there, he'll do it.
Yeah. He will defend the title against anybody if you are a legitimate and worthy challenger. So.
All right. Well, it was worth noting that Bayley just tapped out. Sasha Banks locked her head in the middle of that chair and just kept kicking it until Bayley couldn't take anymore. Bayley is tapped out, and Sasha Banks is the new Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion. Will, you're shaking your head. I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, SmackDown
Women's Champion. There she is.
Man,
congratulations, Sasha Banks.
Will always corrects us with such grace and dignity, man. I need to learn from that because, when I correct her, I disagree. I'm always like, "What are you talking about, bro?" It goes up to you. Will's just like, "No, bro, just SmackDown."
Yeah, he's real cool. He's cool. He's too cool for school. That Will Martin.
Joe Cool.
Yeah, you know it.
Seeing a lot of love for EC3 in the chat. I don't know what brought this on, but want to see Aldis versus EC3. I mean, I want to see that.
I think it was us talking about utilizing technology. I mean, EC3 did an incredible job of putting himself over, making himself ultra visible after his release from WWE. So, I mean, he's definitely a name to throw into that conversation with Nick and Thunder Rosa.
It worked on me, man. I've got 2 EC3 shirts in my closet right now just because of what he was doing outside of WWE. I never watched that guy at Impact. At WWE, I was like, he's some rich snob guy, and then he never got used, and I didn't care. But when he busted out of WWE and he started dropping those videos on about control your narrative and all of that stuff, man, I was into EC3. I thought he looked badass, he was ready to go. He had a big match against Moose at Bound for Glory, which I don't know how many of you guys watched Bound for Glory, but that just happened. That was a thing. I was going somewhere with that. Sorry, I was pulling up my results here. The big news for me was I thought it was cool that Ken Shamrock got inducted into their Hall of Fame, and he had guys like Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Boss Rutan, Ariel Helwani, Charles Sonnen, and of course The Rock show up on Impact Wrestling just to induct that guy into the Hall of Fame. I saw Will do the eyebrow, so that tells you how big of a deal that was. I got to get more into Impact. I feel like they're trying really hard. They're doing a lot of stuff. James Storm would be a notable item from Impact this past week on Bound for Glory. He showed up in the Call Your Shot Battle Royal, which ended up being won by Rhino, which earned himself a title shot and Heath a shot or a contract, I guess was the deal with that one. And Heath was originally going to enter that, but Will, you sent me over the news item earlier that Heath apparently ended up with a hernia. So, no bueno for Heath. So,
yeah, I think the original plan was for him to win that match, and they had to kind of call an audible there with his injury. So, hope for a speedy recovery there. Excited to see him. We've said this since back in April when all these guys were released from WWE. Just can't wait to see them all land on their feet and their careers move forward outside the WWE. And we're seeing that with guys like Heath and EC3 and a lot of the people that we're talking about. So it's really good to see that. Hope he heals, recovers from this as quick as he can, and gets back in the ring.
That's right.
That's right.
Nah, he's right. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that.
EC3 versus Moose happened at that. I don't really know what happened in this match. I tried to watch clips of it because I was excited to see EC3 back, but it was like Moose kind of knocked him out or something, and then some people drug EC3 out. And, I'm not really sure. Ken Shamrock won his match, but Alex Shelley ended up getting injured in the tag team matchup that happened. The North ended up winning the Impact Tag Team Championship, but it was like Alex Shelley got injured, and then Kylie Ray, there's some weird story there, like where some people were speculating injury, but she was supposed to face off against Deonna Purrazzo, but Sue Young replaced her, and the report was that nobody really, the story went around that she was injured, but they were later told, everybody was later told that was not the case. The announce crew didn't say much because they didn't know, and so thus far, nothing's been released about that. Kylie Ray just didn't show up. It's a weird thing because it feels like that's similar to the AEW thing. Like AEW, had her for a little while, then all of a sudden AEW, she just wasn't there, and she was dealing with some personal stuff, and then now the Impact things happened, and now she's not there. So I don't know what's going on with Kylie Ray, which sucks because I really like Kylie Ray. Every time I've seen her compete, so wonder. I don't know what's up with that. And let's see here. What else? And then, of course, Rich Swann won the Impact World Championship by defeating Eric Young. I got to be honest, I didn't see that coming. But there he is. He won the whole thing. Showed up looking like a champ in that suit that he had on. And so good for him, Rich Swann, taking the World Championship. That's your Bound for Glory stuff.
It's a good championship, not a world championship.
There you go, says Rob. Not a world championship.
I had to throw that in
there. 90s Wrestling Podcast jumping in saying, I've heard from my contacts as possible she had an anxiety attack talking about Kylie Ray. So that's maybe possible.
She's dealt with a lot of stuff like that. And I think from what I had read, she just didn't show up to the venue. So I figured it had to be something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're hearing pretty much the same thing. So,
looking at the pay-per-view right now, Bobby Lashley is defeating Slapjack, it appears. Maybe that's not how it's going to go. Bobby Lashley's just dominating Retribution. I don't know. I felt like on Raw this past week on the clips I saw, it was like you brought in Retribution this whole time, and then Bobby Lashley immediately tapped one of them out. I was like, it sounds like you just are done with Retribution already. So
don't even get me started.
Nah, let's get them started. I got the notes.
It's just classic. It's just classic WWE lazy booking, shock factor. We're gonna have these guys come in and vandalize everything, and then we're gonna draft them to Raw. Why would draft? Well, let's just talk about authenticity. Why would you draft a group of people that could come in and vandalize your business? They're supposed to be an invasion angle type thing, and they're just totally. I don't. It just doesn't make sense to me in my mind.
None of it has made sense. That's the problem.
And then they were supposed to be it quit making sense to me when at one point early on, and they were at the Performance Center, that there was two of them holding cinder blocks. One threw a brick and busted the door down, broke the window, and then the other one just kind of looked at his brick and just threw it through the already broken window, just through the hole. And I was like, okay, this is not going well. I don't see this panning out well. So
yeah, there were many faults throughout the thing, and then it was Retribution is this thing where we're not here to be controlled by the WWE. We're taking the power back or something like that. And then it's we've signed Retribution to a contract. It was why? Just because, we know they're here to destroy us, so we'll just sign them so we can pay them to destroy us.
You made it into the Thunderdome through security, through the COVID testing. You're a threat to the WWE. That's so believable.
Oh.
You guys have a job?
I don't know. But now here they are. And here's the thing. I mean, the times I've checked in on Raw, every time for the difference now is every time I checked in, it was the Hurt Business, which is mainly MVP and Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. They were beating up on not Scorpio Sky, God help me, Ricochet, and who else? I can't even remember now. Okay, Bobby Lashley's locked in the full Nelson. This it's over. He's ringing the bell. twice in a row now. The Hurt Business is beat up. Now this is so stupid. Anyway, so they're beating up on Bobby Lashley. They haven't won a match. They haven't won a match since they've been hired. Front row, I need you to defend this to me because I
also like how suddenly when Retribution like runs in, all the camera guys start going like even the ones across the room. Like all the cameras start shaking.
Lashley single-handedly taking the whole faction out. Look at that. I mean, there's nothing.
I know Lashley's just beating them by himself. Now
he should be. That's believable.
We got and they're all in suits, man. That looks great. That looks like a kind of a 4 horsemen type deal, boy. I like that.
Oh, no, Hurt Business looks good. It's just that they don't do anything else except they were beating on Retribution and like these other guys for like forever. Or no, they were beating on Ricochet. Like I felt like they were killing Ricochet constantly and Cedric Alexander for forever. And I don't know.
I like the whole suits thing. I've always liked that, man. You come in here and you represent professionalism and integrity, and
it was like Mustafa Ali would get brought in every once in a while, that he'd get beat with him. And then it was like, oh, Mustafa Ali is the leader of Retribution. Okay, right. Okay, because I'm feeling it. Like Mustafa Ali's got charisma. I like Mustafa Ali. Like I think he could be something. Now he's going to lead this group. This is going to mean something. Nah. Hurt Business so just beat him all the time. And Mustafa Ali just looks like he's scared of him too. So
it's a waste, man. You built up this scary faction that was going to come in and wreck everything just to put over the Hurt Business event. Like, it just doesn't. It's a waste.
It's real dumb. Ryan Romano, thank you so much for hanging out with us, brother. You have a good night. See you heading out. He's going to head out. Rob, he's going to see you at Buda, Texas, my friend.
Yes,
you got to hang out with Ryan Romano.
Yes, indeed. Me and Ryan about to burn down Buda. He get to ride with Robbie Roode for a night. His life will be changed forever.
He's ready to bend the knee to Rachel Rose with you. So.
Indeed.
So at least have two.
You got to wear your back brace, Rob. Make sure you wear your back brace.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what it is. Plus, I've got this little thing in my knee where, I don't know if it's the heat, the cramps, whatever, but it's like when she comes around, I don't know if it's like the endorphins or whatever, but it's like makes me give out. I have to go down.
Yeah. You take your vitamins, man.
That's what I've been telling Tanya. I'm like, come on, baby.
What is this thing? Survivor Series is called Undertaker 30.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're not. I don't even care. Anyway, also MJF scarf. He's a cool account. He's actually been put over by MJF himself. It's just an account called MJF scarf. I don't know who the guy is, but he asked the other day if we were going to be around in Buda. He's taking the trip down there. So Rob, you'll have to hook up. Yeah, so he's going to be there.
Yeah,
MJF scarf. He's not familiar with it, but he's another guy. He's another guy who's old school, like NWA, AEW, or not AEW, AWA fan. And he said he got kind of out of wrestling for a while, but he came back for like AEW. Has been into MJF and stuff, but he's been seeing like this stuff with Mission Pro and all of this other stuff. So, another fan, just like the rest of the hashtag NWA fam. Wrestling with the MMA since you got an old football injury, right, Stinson?
Yeah, old football injury. Well, it's really more of a chest injury. Football,
Let's give a shout out to Pennywise, still watching on Periscope, saying 30th anniversary Taker's supposed to be there, but not wrestling. Okay, that explains it. We have to keep our sound down just so everybody knows, like while we're watching this thing, we can get pulled. Like if the sound from the pay-per-view shows up on what we're doing. That's a legit thing. I don't know why. It's just a YouTube thing. They'll think we're like broadcasting the pay-per-view to you guys, which we would never do. We would never broadcast a pay-per-view to you guys.
No. Never. We've never done that.
Never.
Not on YouTube.
No, I would never do that.
We've never. And if we were, like we definitely wouldn't do it exclusively for our Discord chat people. So like, don't go join the Discord chat for that. Like, we would definitely never specifically share it with the Discord. I mean, come on.
Or do a cast party or something.
Stop accusing us of that, y'all.
Right.
If I would do anything, if I would ever show something, it would be through the Discord on Cast, which you can download. I think it's a free app, but that's the only way. I mean, if we were
Probably.
So.
Yeah, right.
I've never really heard of it, but yeah.
We don't think all you people that are watching right now.
They spelt with a K, K-A-S-T.
Go back to school.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's joining us right now. We're having a good time. We're just hanging out, watching wrestling. Just an old crew. Thunder Rosa says we need a hashtag MPW fam tag going. We can start that.
We do.
I've been doing it, Thunder. I've been doing it. I've been hashtagging that with the NWA.
Rob, stop kissing ass and just take action.
Look, man.
You got to start tagging us in those, Rob.
Don't you?
Thunder Rosa told me all about the booty pics her and Allison K post. Just for the record, she told me about that. Like when you need some extra likes, they throw some booty pics up there. She told me about it in the interview we did with her, but that doesn't mean you have to kiss it. You just, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of really awkward with her, Rob. You sound like Butthead.
Tangent right over here. I was like, no, I'm not getting those pics.
What?
Nothing. I don't be looking at pics like that.
90s Wrestling Podcast brought up a unique question here I like in the chat. So I'm going to post it up here on the screen. Arya's, because he's British. Why'd you cover your face, Will?
Because I'm triggered. He's talking about Curtis Axel.
Yeah. Are you surprised Curtis Axel and Tessa Blanchard hasn't turned up anywhere else yet? I assume that's how he sounds. And I've heard his. If you haven't watched the 90s Wrestling Podcast, you have to check it out. He's from England and he sounds exactly how you think. Very Cockney. Are you surprised Curtis Axel and Tessa Blanchard hadn't turned up anywhere else?
Listen, this is so funny. Gary's salty. If you were in our Discord, you would know this, but Gary's salty because that 90s podcast was telling us that he was in an interview with Trevor Murdoch and he forgot Gary's name when he was talking about this pod. And so now Gary's all salty and he's going after him. That's not what he sounds like. It's not. He's great. Go check him out. But
he probably sounds very professional, but I don't have to acknowledge it tonight.
I'm triggered because if you've listened to this show on a regular basis, you know how badly I want to see Joe Hennig, formerly known as Curtis Axel, anywhere, preferably the NWA. I'd love to see him and Nick Aldis in a feud sometime soon. But I don't. Tessa Blanchard, I don't have a strong opinion about just because there was a lot of drama surrounding her. I think it's probably for the best that she lays low for a little while. But man, Joe Hennig needs to pop up somewhere and really make a name for himself. I know he's capable of it, and I'm just ready for it. So.
I'm triggered, and I just retweeted a post that I made. If y'all have an app called Twitter,
Twitter.com.
Yeah, Twitter.com. I tweeted yesterday over.
Is that new? I haven't.
Yeah, I've only got like 40 followers, man. You probably don't follow me, but yeah, I tweeted Mission Pro Wrestling Fam yesterday. But hashtag MP.
Okay.
I've been
still on that.
I've been doing that.
Listen, here's a promise. Everybody go follow Rob. Gary, throw his handle down there. Go follow Rob. I promise you, if you do, here's a promise. He will tag you in every single tweet from here on out. You will get tagged in every tweet. That is a promise. Right, Rob? You'll do that for the people?
Oh, yeah.
We do need Rob to get more Twitter followers, so if you guys can help Rob out. This is Dr. Stinson. He made it. He's trying to market now. The boy is after it now. He's like, this is Dr. Stinson. He's got it.
I'm not asking for all that.
Listen, we're here to help.
This is us asking for you, Rob.
Yeah.
If you currently just follow him on MySpace, let's bring some of those MySpace fans over to Twitter, Rob. I think that's.
I've got MySpace followers by the dozens, bro.
I know we got to create some of that synergy. We got to bring them over.
Yeah,
we're trying to help you out.
Also, if you guys would you just make sure to hit subscribe, share this podcast with your friends. This is a chill night. Sunday nights are a chill night for us. And it's not just on WWE pay-per-view nights. We just happen to have it on. Is the Hell in the Cell happening right now with Drew McIntyre? What the hell?
You're out there. I was going to say, Gary.
In the cell?
Don't we have a special gift for our 600th subscriber?
You know what?
Ooh,
that joke I made didn't land with anybody else but Will. And the happiness I saw in his eyes.
What was
it? When he heard it. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about more.
Drew McIntyre wrestling somebody who probably looks like he's probably a deserter.
This is a really good,
bringing up some military.
This is a really good hell. This is a really good hell outside of the cell match.
Oh my God. Anyway, so I got rid of the Hammerstone thing. But by the way, our boy J Cal is going to be having on October 28th. He's going to be having on Hammerstone on the show, on the Alliance blog. Hammerstone, the Beef Castle. He's going to be there. Hammerstone, Meat Mountain is going to be on there. He's going to be on there, so you guys should check it out. Hammerstone! Anyway, which, by the way, I want to give a shout-out to Pennywise, who's watching us on Twitter or Periscope, who did mention that MLW is coming back soon, and that means more Hammerstone for everybody. Hammerstone! His name is Alexander Hammerstone.
You got to say it right. His name is Alexander Hammerstone.
So, Hammerstone is coming out. I'm going to reach out to Hammerstone. I think we just got to. We're going to figure out something.
You act like you trying to call May Valentine or something. Like, dude, should I call her? Like, should I do this or what, man? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. Whatever. No, I can't do it. Hold on. All right.
I mean, I think we would share. We would both be equally giddy, like as you were with May Valentine. I would be with Hammerstone.
Yeah,
just be like, oh wait, don't say that. Don't say that, Alex.
Tell me about you, though. I want to know about you.
Oh, just
Gary's wife would be equally as jealous.
Right. Oh, I'll be totally cool.
Totally cool. I am anything he needs.
It's not weird with Hammerstone. Do you think he'd like me? Do you think he'd like me?
Like you.
Oh yeah, Gary. What's not to like, man? What's not to like?
I don't know. It's so dreamy.
You want me to talk to him first?
Could you just talk to him and see if he'd be interested?
Hey,
you're asking that. Just like drop the name, like, hey, what about the scary guy?
Yeah, hey, you see my friend? You see my friend over there, Gary? What do you think about it?
I'll be like, no, I'll just be cool. I'm not looking. I'm not.
You mean the guy in this chat with us? Like in that? Yeah, Gary.
Oh, man, I'm talking to other chats.
This is just one of the chats I'm in.
He unzipped his hoodie. Like this.
I'm doing a couple of different podcasts right now, so
I mean, this is you on the maybe one day like we can be in the same podcast. But I'm saying, can I buy you a drink? What's up?
Yeah. Hey, this drink's from that guy over there.
The guy in the square next to me bought you this drink. Anyway.
It's gonna be fun.
Wrestling with the MMA. We're so happy to have you. You can see Gary gush about Hammerstone and so much more every Sunday night right here, everybody. Oh man. Let's see. Is there any fun news we can bring up? I saw Mike Bennett on an interview. I just took these notes. I just thought it was interesting. He said somebody asked about him going public, asking for his release, and like what the thought process was there. And he said that he went public asking for his release after privately asking for it many times and being denied. He said he knew it would upset the higher-ups when he did it, but he cleared it with his wife. He noted that he and his wife, Maria Canales Bennett, were not of the same mindset. That he wanted out and she wanted to stay. She was fine doing whatever they asked and had never asked for a release. Both ended up being fired together, though, when the company made its cuts in April. Speaking to Wrestling Inc., that's where this was. He said they were not happy, but I had known it because I had known it would piss them off, and it was the point. And that was the point, because I was mad because I had gone to them constantly. And this is what I think a lot of wrestling fans don't understand, is me asking for my release was just a last desperation effort. I had done all I could do behind the scenes. I had talked to Vince. I had talked to the head of talent relations. I had asked for my release privately backstage. Twice I asked for it privately, to which I was denied. My wife never asked for a release, which drives me nuts. My wife was fine staying there. She was like, I'm good. I'll do what they want me to do. She was good. And so, like, it was always just me. I wanted to be done. And I had discussions with her. I was like, if I ask for my release, are you okay with that? And she said, yeah, I'm okay with it. This was a boiling point of buildup to the point where I had reached out to them. He says, I know when you say stuff like this, it doesn't hold the company in good light. And talent relations called me and they said, Vince is pissed off at you. And my reaction was good. That was my thought. Maybe he'll listen to me now, but it is what it is. I did it. Things happen. I hold no ill will. I just needed to be done. I needed to be free. I needed to go do what I wanted to do. And so anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing. Like somebody had asked him about his main release. I bring that up because Mike Bennett is a big part of the United Wrestling Network Primetime Live United Wrestling Network World Title Tournament that is coming up. We've been coming up on this for a little bit, and we've been covering the Tuesday night after shows. Love Wrestling with the MMA. Like, share, and subscribe with Hammerstone if you know him. I just thought I'd share that. Anyway, so Mike Bennett was entered into that tournament, and that's a big deal coming up on this next episode of Primetime Live, because we're going to get the first match in the World Title Tournament. That show is also just announced tonight, by the way. Rob, this is a big deal for you because you've been asking for it, and it's like they listened to you, Rob. Ray Rosas is going to be defending his Hollywood Heritage Championship against Kevin Martinson. And so that match is going to happen.
They do listen. They're probably listening right now. And we did ask for this. And, I think Ray Rosas is, he's again, I'm not going to say he's on the rise because he's been there for a long time. This is an established guy, and going to be a great match, man. I can't wait to see it. I got Rosas.
Yeah, same. I think I do too. Also, our boy Danny Limelight is going to be back this Tuesday night on Primetime Live. The Bodega is taking on the Real Money Bros. That's going to be fun because the Real Money Bros ain't playing around. But we know our boy Danny, he don't play around either. He's in there to win. And Papa Esco is also a big, tough dude. And it's going to be a fun match to watch. These four guys can go, and so I can't wait to see what they do. Of course, the thing is headlined by Thunder Rosa defending the NWA Women's Championship against Serena Deeb, which is the headliner, as it should be. This is going to be an amazing match. I can't wait to see it. But also included in that, I don't want to take away from that match, but just to bring it back around to the point I was talking about, Mike Bennett is in this world title tournament for United Wrestling Network. The first match of which you're going to see this week, Tuesday night on Primetime Live. Peter Avalon is taking on Chris Dickinson, the Dirty Daddy, for a first round matchup. And The other first-round matchups in this thing are going to be Eric Redbeard and Watts are going to take on each other. And Carl Fredericks versus Fred Rosser and Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus Mike Bennett. So I just want to put that over if I can. I don't know if there's something in particular you guys are looking forward to, but Primetime Live looks good this week. I'm excited because so far all of the announced matches are actually matches I give a damn about, I guess I could say. Like that's the big thing with them.
We have been about Thunder Rosa. We've been asking for her matches are so good. They're always so excellent. I mean, they're clinics. We've been asking for Thunder Rosa versus Lindsay Snow Part 2. We've been asking for Thunder Rosa versus Priscilla Kelly Part 2. We've been asking for Serena Deep. We're going to get it, and now we are getting it. And this is going to be great, but there's nobody in the world that can beat Thunder Rosa right now. So I got Thunder Rosa in this one. And then, of course, that first round match, I think all of us picked Bennett to either win it or be in the finals. I wish that they were meeting later. I would really have loved to have seen a Davey Boy Smith, Chris Dickinson match too, at some point. But I'm looking at Mike Bennett to win this thing.
You're looking at Mike Bennett. That's interesting. So we got to have some fun with this. I think we have to do this. We're going to have a meeting after the show tonight, so we'll talk about this. But I think one thing we got to do is we got to have some fun with tournaments. Like, I think we got to play around with those. Like, we got to figure out what we can do to make it interesting, maybe some free swag or something like that for some bracket challenges or something like that. We got to do it with the Tournament Out of Hell for Mission Pro Wrestling, and we got to do it for Primetime Live. I feel pretty strongly about it. I want to know what people think is going to happen in this, because I was thinking about this standing around today. I was washing dishes, and I was thinking about this United Wrestling Network tournament, because it's what you do. And I'm thinking that if you call it the A block to take a G1 thing, I'm seeing Chris Dickinson just like slamming through competition, like just destroying people. He's going to destroy Peter Avalon. Eric Redbeard and Watts, that's a Haas fight. But Chris Dickinson, I still feel like he gets there. He gets to the finals. But on the other side, like, I feel good about, like, Carl Fredericks and Fred Rosser. That's a toss-up for me. Like, I don't know. I'm going to swing Fred Rosser for veterans advantage, if that's a thing. Like, he's like a ring general. Like, he's been around a while. But Mike Bennett works his way through, I think, and faces Fred Rosser, and then Mike Bennett works his way into the finals. And then, Rob, honestly, I'm with you. Like, I think that at the end of this thing, Chris Dickinson is used to powering his way through, but there's just like a mental toughness that Mike Bennett possesses that nobody else possesses. And I'm feeling Mike Bennett for the win and becoming the first UWN heavyweight champion. That's what I think is going to happen. Will, we don't need to leave you out of this. I mean, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm with you up until the finals, which I think it's going to be Chris Dickinson. I think they're going to start with a heel champ. They're going to create a dynamic, and we might have a long-term feud between Chris Dickinson and Mike Bennett as he continues to chase that, even though all of us obviously are wanting to see Nick Aldis, Mike Bennett too. But it just, it's kind of up to him and his trajectory where he wants to go. But I think I'm with you guys in the sense that I think this tournament is leading up to a collision course between Bennett and Chris Dickinson. And honestly, I want to see it. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's a great tournament. I am looking forward to, as you mentioned, doing something fun with it. And, with this one and the Tournament to Hell, and trying to get some activity here with our fans, the NWA fam, and so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the ultimate. Oh, go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Oh, here he goes. Every time I speak, go ahead.
Fast there, Will. You cannot be telling me that Chris Dickinson, the Dirty Daddy, who was taken to the limit by my man Danny Limelight, is going to go over Mike Bennett, who took our champion Nick Aldis to the limit. You cannot be telling me that.
I think I just did tell you that, but I think you're framing it a little different than the way I said it. But if you want to read that into it, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
you're like a lawyer.
My feeling is that it's going to come down to like Chris Dickinson is dominant. Like that's what I. Did you guys ever see that movie? What is that movie?
Dirty Dancing.
Good.
Yeah, Dirty Dancing. No, it's Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was in it, and it's like the like. I'm gonna look it up right now. Warrior is the name of the movie.
I'm like, what?
Listen to me. It's called Warrior, and it's about two MMA fighters, and like they're brothers, and like. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about, Will?
Yeah.
It's like two MMA fighters, and they're working their way. Rob, if you haven't seen it, I think you'd dig it because it's like a Rocky movie almost, like sort of. But it's like Tom Hardy is one of the brothers, and Joel Edgerton is the other brother, and one's like the big beefy dude who's just like dominant all the time, and Joel Edgerton plays like the family man, and they're all doing this because they got their own things going on. Like they were separated, like kind of like their families falling apart. So there's like a dramatic aspect to it. But they both entered this tournament to like Kurt Angle's in the movie, for God's sake. So like he's one of the MMA fighters, but they go into this tournament to like win this cash prize because like they need it to support themselves or to support their family. One of them's like a ex-drug addict, ex-con. That's Tom Hardy's character. The other guy's like a family man, but like his family's suffering. Like he's like, I don't know how I'm going to support them anymore. Like we're going to have to move out of this house, sell the house, like blah, blah, blah. So he enters it. They're both dealing with the fact that they came from a dad who's like an alcoholic, like just like effed up dude who's played by Nick Nolte. Anyway, they entered this MMA fight. That storyline, I swear to God, it's always one I've always wanted to play out in like an actual professional wrestling setting, and I can totally see it perfectly playing out in this Chris Dickinson versus Mike Bennett fight. Like I could totally see that happening. It just like works out perfectly. So whoever's listening to us, I'm just saying, just watch that movie if you haven't already, or maybe you did, because these guys look like the guys from that movie, and this should play out exactly like that. And at the end of the day, though, that would mean Mike Bennett takes this thing.
Rob, did you eat some bad jerky? What's going on? You look a little uncomfortable.
Oh, man, no, I'm just like my back, my shoulder, boy. I was just thinking, like, man, that dang, man, that was like Gary's analogy there was like the longest analogy I've ever heard.
Damn, Rob, like, why you got to throw me under the bus right there? You talk about nobody puts anybody in the corner, and then you just like throw me under there right there.
No, well, thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of Cinema Shock. Tonight we've been covering Warrior, Tom Hardy.
Oh, you son of a bitch. That is the worst. Front Rose that got my back. He says Warrior was a decent film.
Yeah, he's got your back all right.
No, it was all right.
He says nobody puts Hammerstone in the corner. I mean, if Hammerstone would have been entered into the damn tournament, we wouldn't even have a conversation right now. Like, this would have been over.
I don't think Hammerstone fits in a corner. That dude's huge. You literally can't get him into a corner. No, Hammerstone is the A block. Like, you can't put that dude in a corner. Come on, man. What I say the other week, he's like if you mix Hulk Hogan with God. you can't do it. Like, it's just Hammerstone, baby. What is Randy Orton doing right now? Randy Orton is like, he opened the cell door somehow. He walked out.
Bolt cutters, man.
Colt butters?
Yeah, Colt butters.
he opened it with some Colt butters. Man, I will post this up as a podcast, but it ain't gonna work very well.
At least you know.
Hey, for all of you that only listen as a podcast, I've been thinking about this. I'm going to talk to these dudes about it in the meeting after the show. We're going to talk about the podcast. We're going We hear you.
Hey, we needed to bring you in for this, bro. Sit down for a second.
No, bring it in. Bring it in. Everybody bring it in. I hear you, podcast.
Stinson,
we love you, and we appreciate you.
We think you're overexposed, Stinson.
Stinson's overexposed. You're sick of Stinson. You want him out. You want 1.5 times more Will, 3 times more Gary. I feel you. That's just the emails I got, dog. I don't know.
6% more Hammerstone talk. That's what the survey
6% more Hammerstone talk. Manscapers! Mount up.
That's great, man. That's great. I like that.
That was a Dr. Red Tyler right there.
Good. Hey, that's good, man. Hey.
Brian Rosa predicted Peter Avalon's going to win the whole UWN thing.
See, you didn't see Brian. Brian always does that, man. He always throws a swerve in there because this Joker knows his stuff. So now I gotta go rethink my life. I'm like, dang, why did I overcome him? You know, I'm like, now
Randy Orton's climbing the cage, y'all. He's climbing the Hell in the Cell. So
why? Why is he doing that?
Back into
nobody knows. Nobody. There's literally no reason to do it.
Yeah,
but
makes sense.
There he is. He's up there. Drew's thinking about it.
I wish Drew.
I mean, I was about to say it's gonna be real effed up. And Drew's just like, nah, man, I'm doing that. I'll see you later. I'm just gonna hang out in the ring till you get here. I'll take a nap. I'll take a nap on the turnbuckle. Come back down. We're not doing this.
He better not try to fly on him because if I was Drew McIntyre, I just like sidestep right away. Let him splat.
That's what I'm saying. You know he ain't going to jump onto you.
Rob, you saying he would dodge him? He would just dodge him?
You dirty dog, man. You dirty dog. That was good.
I had to help you out.
Man, I'm out of snacks.
Why is he going up? He's the champ. Drew McIntyre is the champ. I would just walk away unless there's a stipulation here I don't know about.
Personal.
James Lawrence, you just wanted 10 pounds of gold like my own eBay. You talking about this guy?
Nice.
This guy right here? He was asking. He sent me a message about this one.
Pretty sure it's a girl. Sweet Charlotte.
You talking about this one? Look, this one. I just killed a drink player, so I apologize for that.
Such grace.
In the packaging on your toy.
He was asking me about this. He was like, "Where did this come from?" Look at this. Yeah, it's got a whole freaking wrestling ring in it.
Holy cow!
Look at that.
Jeez.
It's TNA. It's TNA, baby. It's got AJ Styles and Jeff Jarrett figures. To go along with it. I don't know where they are right this second. The AJ Styles honestly looks more like John Cena.
Can't even see him.
Well, the Goblin, shittiest 10 pounds of gold ever, Gary. Well, you know what?
It says shiniest.
Shiniest.
Shiniest, dude. Shiniest.
Before you get mad, it says shiny.
Oh, shiniest. I really thought it said shittiest.
We're about to lose a subscriber right there, dude. Like, hold on, we need these.
Gary, toss that up there. He turned around. He was getting ready
it's going to be like, look, I got another one. I got this one.
It's all right.
I got to get one.
Rob's unimpressed.
I mean, I got
the fantasy football trophy.
Yeah.
Real deal.
That's the that's a Swayze right there.
That's the Swayze. That's Patrick Swayze. That baby. That's my fantasy football trophy for my Roadhouse League.
It's a Dave Milliken right here, baby.
Yeah, look at that TV title. You know what I feel bad for is Zicky brought that peak TV title in to hit Pope with, I think, and then anyway. James Lawrence, I think that's cool, man. He was asking about this guy. This was used. We used to watch, like me and my friend group before COVID hit. We would watch pay-per-views together, and we would make predictions about pay-per-views. This was just the one that somebody brought in one day. I was like, I got this toy. It's got these wrestling figures in it. We can just start using it. At the time, when it first got brought in, it didn't mean as much to me as it does now, to be honest with you. And he's like, we'll just use this as the title. Like, we'll make predictions on the pay-per-view. Whoever gets the most predictions right, you win it. And I won it like a couple of times in a row, honestly, just based on WWE pay-per-views. And so I have it now. And then COVID hit and nobody's competed for it again. And so I still have it. And now I kind of just want to have it. And I'll just be like, I'm not bringing it back, so you guys can't fucking have it once we get a vaccine or something.
Very soon. It's coming very soon, I hear.
Well, whatever. I just know that belt ain't coming back very soon to any of those people. Because I'm like, that's the 10 pounds of gold, baby. I need that.
Yeah. Hey, so with the Swayze, like, what day are you on, man?
Oh, I mean, technically, that's a long story.
He's not even tracking it.
Dang, dude. Right.
Well, listen, the long story with this guy is, hope you're ready. No, we found this guy at there's a place here in called the Jockey Lot. I think that's where we found this thing.
You got that at the Jockey Lot?
We found it for we ended up paying the guy like $150 or something. Everybody chipped in. And this is legit. Like, if it looks like I'm struggling to hold it up, I mean, it's like heavy. Like, this thing has to be at least like 20 pounds. I don't know. Maybe it's 10 pounds, but it feels heavy.
Swayze.
Anyway, we replaced this guy with Swayze. So my boy back in Waycross, Georgia, where I'm originally from, I let him into our league. He ended up winning last year. He ended up losing the next year, which is the year we're at now. And he was like, well, I'll mail it back to you. He mailed it back to me, but he put the wrong freaking, I feel like this is too much detail, but I'm in Greer, South Carolina, but there's the same address for me in Greenville, South Carolina, which is the more well-known part. He sent it to Greenville, South Carolina, so it went to somebody else's house, right? So
can you imagine them opening it with what the hell is this?
So listen, so we got on Facebook, me and him, and he's like, oh no, the girl changed it at the place. And I'm like, dang, dude. The important part of this is like the 10th year we've had this fantasy football championship. And he sent it to Greenville, South Carolina. So we start looking for it. And I finally found these people on Facebook. Then I'm like, I think it's these people. So I DM the girl on Facebook for the woman I think lives at this address. And she's like, I'm like, hey, I don't want to be weird, but did you get a package for my address at Greer? She's like, I don't know. Like, maybe, I think that's happened before. Like, what's up? And I'm like, well, it's a fantasy football trophy. She's like, oh, weird. Like, I don't think we've gotten any fantasy football trophies. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, it's actually, like, when I say trophy, it's actually a belt. I don't want to be too weird, but it's a wrestling championship belt. She's like, oh, shit. Like, is it like a WWE, like, wrestling championship belt? And I'm like, yeah.
Another one that might not be yours that I got.
And I'm like, I'll make it even weirder for you. It's got Patrick Swayze on it. And she's like, oh, shit. Like, a wrestling championship belt with Patrick. She's like, my husband has that, like, up in his office right now. And I'm like, what? Really? And she's like, yeah. She was like, my husband looks like Patrick Swayze. He lost his fantasy football championship, and like he thought his boys sent it to him as a consolation prize. Like,
oh my gosh.
And she's like, we just got it. He didn't even look at the address. I'm so sorry. Like, he opened it. He's got it on display in his office right now. And it was this belt. Like, and they let me come over. And like just a couple of months ago, they let me come over and pick it up from them. I got a picture of him posing in it. It is like boxer shorts with the Swayze around his waist. He's like posing. He kind of does look like Patrick Swayze. He's a very strong man. Like, I wouldn't have fought him for it. What's the
figure right there behind you, right beside the Impact 10 pounds?
This one?
Yeah, what is that?
That is Jim Cornette.
Okay, yeah. I see.
That's Jim Cornette. And it says, to Gary, co-host of the second best wrestling podcast. Your friend, Jim Cornette.
That's cool. Not as cool as this, though.
Oh, look at that.
The Cello Toys Nick Aldis action figure, which is in production right now, is pretty freaking cool. But it's not the first Nick Aldis action figure. And this one, it claims to be signed by Magnus. Now, I know Magnus' signature, and this one looks a little suspect, but that's neither here or there. However, I also saw when I was at Mission Pro last time, someone had a Thunder Rosa Funko Pop, and it was like a custom, but it was amazing. And I wish I knew who made that, because
we need those.
Buy that up, man.
Thunder Rosa's got some custom stuff, but like I was hoping what I was hoping for is that if we really supported like the Aldis figure with those guys, that would lead to like more NWA figures, like a question mark with like a power chop action or something like that. The karate chop and Aaron Stevens and just whoever else, and Trevor Murdoch, all those guys. I thought that would be awesome.
Trio series, man. You got like Gary with a little glass of whiskey. You got Will with a look of contempt on his face. Got me with
rolling my eyes.
Yeah,
I have eye rolling action.
That's it. That would be pretty sweet if that happened. But no, I'm just thinking like Trevor Murdoch, a Thunder Rosa. Like Thunder Rosa don't have any figures, and she deserves all the figures. And
she deserves at least 6 figures, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. At least that girl deserves 6 figures. God dang, it's hard having everybody's back, but God, fucking Randy Orton just won the world title. I don't even know how he had a championship match.
You're like 20 seconds ahead of me. Thanks.
Oh, well, spoiler alert, Randy Orton.
I'm watching it now.
Randy Orton just won the.
Hey, he dodged a close one there, boy.
Stupid. Okay, well, front row, I need you to chime in. Like, Orton just won. I think the biggest mistake in the world is not keeping this.
Hang on. What about the Miz? Just hang on.
The Miz is going to cash in on Randy Orton.
I don't think so, because it wasn't he. If he was like down, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like.
I don't think he's going to cash in. That was a thought that I had, because they did change the briefcase tonight. They've been
Randy Orton. The Miz cashing in on Randy Orton would be like if I had challenged them to make me give any less of a shit. And then they do that. And I'd be like, oh, now the Miz is the world champion. GFY. Does that make any sense to anybody? GFY.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it look like Drew fell through the table and stuff, but man, I'd have kept this belt on Drew through all this BS. See how over Drew is as the world champion.
Well, or they're going to have him win it back literally next month. Maybe
or that. Why is even Randy Orton? Where was Keith Lee tonight? By the way, Where's Keith Lee on Raw? Is Keith Lee doing anything anymore? Is Keith Lee they just forgot about him? Brian Rosa wants to know, Rob.
Yeah.
This is stupid. I'm sorry. It just is stupid. Like, the whole thing is stupid. Do I have to pretend like I like this? Because I don't. Like, no. I don't like any of this. I don't like anything WWE is doing. Like, literally anything WWE is doing. They are the worst. They are getting away with, I want to be positive all the time. I try so hard to be positive all the time. But these guys, they're working so hard to make me hate everything that they do. Like, they just benefit from having all the money and all the attention and the best nights, and people only know them in this generation as the wrestling company, and I am so sick of them. I am so done with them. Like, they are just... Oh, man. I probably should not... I guess this is not the time nor the place, but they... Like, there is so much better wrestling out there in the world right now than WWE, and people have to give it the attention.
This is so weird, and this is maybe kind of nerdy. Like, you guys know I'm in the marketing world, right? So I do SEO, social media marketing, digital marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I just hopped on Instagram for a second. I've got a sponsored ad here for Hell in a Cell from Randy Orton. So I'm supposed to believe Randy Orton is paying for Instagram ads to get me to sign up for the WWE network. Or is WWE like paying now to advertise to us as their talent? It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's from his account, right?
Oh, it's garbage. I saw the other day, like, I follow AJ Styles, like, from the NWA Pod Twitter account, and AJ Styles was, like, promoting some Hell in the Cell preview thing. And then, did you even see AJ Styles tonight, by the way? Did you even at any point today have you seen AJ Styles compete in a match that you didn't look up specifically AJ Styles on YouTube? No, you didn't, because AJ Styles had nothing to do with anything. It is the most garbage corporate produced, just non-human bullshit conglomerate of crap that I've ever seen in my life. I hate WWE so much. I do. And I like I said, I try to stay pretty positive. But it's hard. They make it very difficult. I'm sorry to feel this way about Drew McIntyre, but I'm like, the guy has worked his ass off, like, from being a dude who they thought was the golden boy. They kicked him to the curb. He worked his way back in. He got his way all the way up to his chance to win the world championship. It happened during a garbage moment in world history where there was a freaking pandemic, and he got himself on top, and then you don't even let that play out. Like, let the guy get in front of fans again at least one time. And it's just like, you're giving it back to Randy Orton? Like, why? Like, he already beat Randy Orton multiple times. Like, nothing about this storyline, at least from what I've seen, like, checking in and out. I fucking signed back up to the WWE network tonight. And I hate myself for it. I wish I hadn't. I don't know. I feel like I'm being over dramatic. I'm sorry, but
how long is this?
All of this is bullshit.
How long is this login good for?
I hate I hate WWE. I hate them so much with every ounce of my being. Like and I grew up on them. God bless me and them. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think they're so stupid. I think everything about them is stupid, and everything about them is everything that people that don't understand wrestling that like. Or like, why are people into wrestling? They would check into a WWE show because that is the biggest name in wrestling. And they'd be like, no, these people really are idiots. These people really are just kind of like, what? I don't know. They don't see the other stuff we see. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
It's annoying.
I feel you.
This is a safe space, Gary. Let it out.
Well, I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. I don't know. I know you gotta move on with storylines. I see you front row. You're out there. And you're saying, I hear you, Gary. It could be a very long time before they're in front of fans. They have to move on the stories. Front row, let me just establish up front that God bless you, man, because you are the most positive person I know. And I'm saying that as a person who tries to be positive. You seem to always be very positive, and you're always positive about WWE. And so I respect that. And so nothing I say here has anything to do with you. And I'm not trying to like knock you as a person. Like I respect your opinion, but this is stupid. This is like, they're stupid. Not you are stupid. Like they're stupid. Like, why are they doing this? What about this? What about that move makes them think that people are going to be more invested in the WWE? What does that move entail to like draw an audience for the WWE? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. Anybody can chime in here. Tell me what Randy Orton does to bring you in to the product. Tell me what Randy Orton went like. I mean, you can shit on AEW all day long, but at least they're having a tournament right now to try to tell you the next challenger is. Eddie Kingston like fought his way into the shot to win a championship match. Like, Randy Orton has lost 3, 2, 3, 4 times. I don't know. I don't know how many times he's lost. Why is he still getting a shot? And then he gets a shot, and then he wins. Is Orton the guy?
That's the crime to me. It's not even the like thing about crowds or McIntyre keeping the belt. I can get behind that it may be time. I mean, he won it at Mania, so that was what, April? So, I mean, he's been champ for a good while. I mean, we forget that it's October. So it's been months and months. But, I mean, the fact that Randy Orton's the guy to do it, I think that's a misstep. I think you got plenty of talent on that roster that you could bring up and that you could put in that feud with Drew McIntyre to, take the belt off of him. And that's the thing for me, which you just bring up, the fact that, Orton's lost like the last like 3 matches, right? Like, I mean, and now he from a realism standpoint, from a believability standpoint, I just don't buy it. So that's where I struggle with it. And that's what I'm talking about, and we've talked about it before, even Seth Rollins' comment about, short attention spans, and what I think he was referring to as short-term memory. And I think that the WWE doesn't think that their fans have a short-term memory, and that they think that we've forgotten that Orton just lost those matches and shouldn't really even be in this match in the first place and having this shot. And the fact that he comes away as champ is just kind of bogus.
Rob,
I mean, you know where I stand on this. I didn't even want to go over this thing tonight.
He almost didn't show up.
I'm just here because I love you guys. I was like, he was like, here's my login. It's like, hey man, let me send you my Shutter login, and we'll just we'll just review some of that. You're like, bro, I already got
How
that.
you gonna come at me when I got? I mean, I got a Shutter login. Like that's not even. I appreciate you, Rob, but of all things, you don't think I got a Shutter login?
Sounds like it.
How do you even know about Shutter?
Man, because I be watching TV. I know technology. I'm on TikTok. I did my first TikTok by myself ever this week.
He did, and I'm very proud of you, Rob.
How did it look, man?
Very proud of you.
Was you critiquing it? Like, I probably wouldn't have put that in.
No, I was critiquing it, but in a good way. I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Okay."
You know why? Because I'm a Will Martin Patreon.
That's right.
Tell them about that,
Patreon. I'll teach you all about it. Well, since you brought it up, I will tell the NWA fam because I feel like our close fam is still in the chat after 10 o'clock. But last week I quit my job and I quit my 9 to 5, and I am now officially an entrepreneur, and I could not be more excited.
He is the only full-time member of our team here.
I'm a full-time wrestling podcaster now. No, I am focusing on teaching content marketing, SEO, things like that through, as Rob mentioned, my website, a Patreon that I'm getting up. The official launch will be December 1st, but it is open if you guys want to check that out. So heyitswill.com, all the information's on there. But yeah, I would appreciate obviously the love and support that I always get from the NWA fam of putting that out there and getting things going. But I'm looking forward to being my own boss, and I'm looking forward to having more time to do the things I love and spend time with my family. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I hadn't really talked a lot about it on this show or anything like that because it's just been personal, but yeah, so I'm stoked about it. Mass fan, I was working at a advertising agency. That was my job before this. So I just kind of took what I was doing and now I'm doing it on my own. So I'm really excited. What better time to quit a job than, a pandemic?
Right when Randy Orton wins the world title. What better time? What better time to quit your job?
I'm doing better.
What's your website, Will? Pennywise wants to know. What's your website?
Oh, heyitswill.com. Heyitswill with 1L.com.
Yeah. Mass fans say good for you, my guy. I have to listen. Can we be real with each other? I gotta pee. So we're just gonna go.
Real.
That's real. So I'm gonna close myself out. You guys hash it out.
Well, I'll just talk to Rob.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, we'll mention this because they were talking about it earlier in the chat, but Nick Aldis and Brian Pillman Jr. is coming up, and we are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited about it. Have you heard anything new this week or any more information about the show? Do we know if it's going to be broadcast at all?
I doubt that it'll be broadcast. I know that typically when the title is defended, I'm not sure. Maybe if Brian's still in the chat, he can enlighten us. But I know when the 10 pounds is defended, there's some sort of an arrangement there, which we've learned with the whole Shane Williams thing. There's some sort of arrangement there where the NWA is going to be able to have footage of this. And I imagine that this, if it's not broadcast, at some point it'll make its way through the Patreon and be on there for Carneyland subscribers. But the best thing to do is if you can, and I know everybody can't do that. I mean, it's not realistic, but the best thing is to show up. I doubt it's going to be broadcast, but I think eventually the public will be able to see this, hopefully within a matter of a few days or a couple of weeks after the match. But obviously, if with something like this, like Thunder Rosa defending against Lindsay Snow, Nick Aldis defending is coming, the podcast will be represented, and we're actually going to be there. The whole team will be there that night, so at ringside, along with Sandoval and Polka Dot Pam and Dawn of Wrestling and several others will be there. So I think Wrestling with the MMA might be there. So,
man, it's gonna be a party.
It's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah.
Going to be a true hashtag NWA Fam Summit, man.
Where's it going to be? Mass Fan is asking.
It is in Mass Fan. It lives not too far from us. He's a Georgia guy, and let me see. It's in I want to say Grimley, Tennessee. Hold on, I'll pull it up. Find it here. It is in Grimsley, Tennessee, which is right between Nashville and Knoxville. It's up in Middle Tennessee. It's like in the Gallatin area, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Fan for you, it's going to be a 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive, something like that. So you need to come on out, man.
Have they listed anything else that's going to be on that show, the rest of the card or anything, or is that just kind of the highlight?
I haven't seen anything else besides this match. I'm sure we'll see other stuff here in the next few weeks. Again, this is going to be Thursday, December 10th. It's a 7:00 bell time, live at the 127 Performing Arts Center in Grimsley, Tennessee. And tickets are very, very, they're affordable, man. They're not crazy. I think ours were $25 or something like that. So, and you get a chance to see, I think Woodland Goblin was asking for a championship defense. And here you got it against one of the best, one of the brightest talents, one of the most talked about, second generation superstar, Brian Pillman Jr., man. Worthy contender. Like I said, when there is a worthy contender, Aldis is more than willing to defend that. So there you go. But when there's more information, we'll certainly come out, tweet about it, talk about it on our show, and whatnot. But
Nice.
Hey, I'm back. I peed.
My turn.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Nick Aldis being like choosy about who he defends this title against. So whatever, guys. I'm sorry for my outburst. I just disappointed. This is all. Like Drew McIntyre representing the WWE brand, and I just think it's terrible that that was another.
it sounded like you went out there. It sounded like Jennifer took you to task or something, man. You went out there and Jennifer's like, "Hey, you need to slow your roll, bro. That was you. You was out of line, Gary."
That was about my drinking. That wasn't about WWE.
Oh, I got you. We were just talking about the Grimsley event. Nick Aldis versus Brian Pillman Jr., and there's going to be a huge representation of #NWA fam there. I think Wrestling with the MMA is saying that he's going to be there. I know Don is going to be there. Polka Dot Pam, I think, is going to try and come out. We're trying to convince Mass Fan to come. Front Row needs to make the trip from Charlotte in. Sandoval is going to be there. The Bitter Trio will be there. And, the most important member of the fam of all, Nick Aldis, of course, one of the two most important. Thunder Rosa, I think, is busy, but shoot, it'd be cool if she showed up too, man, and put the belt on the line there. But anyway, yeah. Can't hear you, bro. Can't hear you.
Oh, I guess I hit mute. Sorry, brother.
Yeah.
No, I just can't imagine in a world right now. I guess I just have like a little bit of a thing for people that are the people that are carrying the torch right now during this time in history. In regards to wrestling, like if we're talking about wrestlers that are trying to carry the torch and be the brand ambassadors during this time. And so especially like, I mean, dude, I get it. Like WWE doesn't, it's bigger than any one person. It would trek on if they threw the title belt on Otis, like it wouldn't matter. Like they would still have ratings for a while, but it's like, who keeps wrestling alive? And like some people, I don't know. Like, I feel like we as a group, as a fan group right now, owe it to ourselves to really try to decide right now during this time that is in a huge reset in society in general, but but with wrestling in particular, since that's what this podcast is about, like you can choose right now, like where your attention goes. You can really decide. You can dictate what the future of the industry is. That's a personal assessment. And so I feel like you can decide that like your attention now belongs to companies like Mission Pro Wrestling. It belongs to, I don't know, AEW if that's your thing. It can belong to the NWA and the UWN with what they're doing with Primetime Live. Like it can, there's so many things, so many places. MLW when it bounces back. ROH just recently started back. Like you get to dictate that. You can really do it. And I don't know how many people that listen to us are actually a Nielsen household or whatever, if that exists at all. But you know, the time that you give to WWE, clearly they have plenty of people giving it time. Now, I would argue that I think it's only hardcores watching WWE right now. Like, I feel like it's just at the base level of people that are just like, we just watch wrestling and WWE is the wrestling that we know. But, well, let's lay it out there, Rob. Like, we've talked about this. Like, Marquez seems to on Facebook, and I don't know if David Marquez is listening or if he even cares or whatever, but I'm just putting it out there. David Marquez on the UWN like stuff, he put on Facebook, he seemed very frustrated about like people being annoyed. He was annoyed by people thinking like, oh, I'm surprised Dan Joseph and Levi Shapiro or whoever have like a good match. He's like, yeah, you could put in the work and you could see this. You would know. He's like, this talent is out there. Well, clearly the talent is out there, but like, I don't think it's a knock to find out that there is other good talent, because there's this sect of wrestling fandom that just still hasn't grasped on to the possibility they could see something else than just what's easily presented to them.
Yeah.
And it's not that the other stuff is hard. It's just that you just have to make the effort to take the step to sign up for something different. You know what I mean?
Well, I think Dave Marquez is being oversensitive about this, because I think what people intend as compliment are trying to say, hey, thank you for exposing us to this new stuff. And he's like, oh, these guys have been here forever. You know, the point is they're not as accessible. You can't knock a fan for showing appreciation for something they haven't had up to this point access to, and you've given them access. So take the doggone compliment, you know? But to your point earlier about like during this time of unprecedented hardship and thing, I mean, you know, the world has been permanently changed. There are some ways in which the world's never going to be the same again. I mean, some ways in which we will get back to normal, but you have to, I'm tired. I'm not tired of it. I mean, I don't mind making this argument anytime I hear it, but it sometimes it bugs me when I hear people like knock Nick Aldis for like, yeah, you're 732 days or 700 whatever, but it's been this. I'm like, look, man, this guy has been a statesman during this. He has done what he's been able to do, and it's not for the fact that he hasn't wanted to defend, and now he has and will be doing it, but he's done the yeoman's work of like continuing to perpetuate the brand. We also had an organizational crisis in the brand, you know, when all this said that he had to help navigate and lead along with Maureen Tracy and other people. These guys are saints. They are saints. Thunder Rosa, where would the women's division, where would women's wrestling be, credible women's wrestling be without Thunder Rosa and what she's done during this, you know? So it's not like this is the norm. It's not. You have to go back to a crisis like World War I, when Earl Caddick was the NWA champion, the National Wrestling Association champion, the precursor to the National Wrestling Alliance, who was, but through some providence of God's, you know, divine sovereignty over human history, he happened to be the champion when World War I broke out. And guess what? He went and fought in the war as the champion and came back with the championship. And there was about a 2-year period there where the belt didn't get defended. You know, it's just history happens to you, and you have to respond to it. And then it's on us, like the fan community. You know, what we did, I think I'm not here to toot our own horn, but I think we deserve a pat on the back. Front Row deserves a pat on the back. Wrestling with the MMA, Polka Dot Pam, Heather Honley, all these guys who, when things shut down, and, Scooby, Turbo, all these jokers that when nothing was going on, we said, you know what? We are not going to let this flame die. We are going to keep this brand alive because it's more important than any one of us. And we felt like we were partners with Thunder Rosa. We were partners with Nick Aldis.
James Lawrence is rocking the Facebook for the 10 pounds of gold.
Indeed. James Lawrence, man, doing amazing work with title histories and providing a breadth of scholarship that most people don't have access to. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. I just think we need to be charitable, understand that we're in unusual circumstances. Don't be too quick to dismiss somebody or critique somebody. And, the world's big enough for different viewpoints and all that. My only point in all this would be to say the UWN title is not a world title. That's all. That's all.
Well, that aside, I just will say that the biggest part of that I took something from that I appreciate from you, Rob, is that you were saying, like, it is unprecedented times, and I think the point you really establish is this, like, Aldis is living in unprecedented times. The fact that you're going to try to hold this guy to some kind of stupid ass like 30-day point, and I don't mean that even towards like Woodland Goblin, who's our boy in the chat, who like brings it up. I just mean, like, the world's in a different place. Like, it's a whole different idea right now. Like, you cannot hold these same people to the same standards that are like during a normal, regular, like just a standard point in human history. Like, this is a pandemic. This is a different time in history. Like, if Aldis had, and he could have, if Aldis had disappeared for 6 months and had just been like, I'll see you guys when we're able to shoot new TV, and gone away, or Thunder Rosa had done the same, then fine. Maybe I would allow myself the idea that, like, we could have that discussion, and like, these guys are like, there's some challenge to their legitimacy as champions, or their time as champions, their reign. But when all of these people are the people that are like struggling to keep this story alive, to keep this conversation going, I mean, what else do you want? Like, this is what they can do. This is how they can act. They're not in the companies that can afford to put on Thunderdome. They're not in the companies that can, just boot the rules to the curb that everybody else is having to follow. They're not managed by billionaires that they can just dictate their own circumstance. They're having to go with what the rest of the world is having to go with. I don't know how else to put that.
And every opportunity to defend, they have done it. Thunder Rosa's gone out there and has done the destruction tour. She's had some really good opportunities. Those opportunities have not been there for Nick, but when they have been, he's going to the Texas, Independent Wrestling Expo to put on a great match. He had a phenomenal match with Mike Bennett. He's about to take Pillman Jr. on. His reign is legitimate under whatever metric you have. When the sun rises tomorrow, he will be on the 737th day of his reign. Something that I don't care what the condition is or circumstance. It's not like there haven't been champions without a global pandemic that have let 100 days lapse without a title defense. And I'm not going to say Brock Lesnar's name, but there have been people that have done far less without a pandemic. And Nick Aldis, here's what said it for me, man. Like, I became a Nick Aldis fan because he earned my respect. He earned my respect. And he, when the crisis broke, who did we need to come and address the public? Nick Aldis did it like he was the freaking Queen of England. He went out there as a statesman to reassure the public, and he's repeatedly done so. He's been a presence. We navigated through Carneyland, and he's constantly sending out reminders and reassurances that, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm still here. And when the occasion presents itself, he defends the title, and evidently We all saw it with Mike Bennett. He has no ring rust at all. He's missed a beat. That match was a classic. It's only because of the time limit and the technical glitches that match is not up there with the Marty Scurll and Cody Rhodes matches. But these are legitimate champions with legitimate reigns, and every single day that Thunder Rosa has been champion counts, and every single day that Aldis has been champion counts.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, I think, if there's any benefit to this whole scenario at all, is I think that we firmly established, and Nick is a fan of the show, or at least a supporter of the show. He's been on here multiple times. Like, we've had him on here, and I would say this to his face. I would say Thunder Rosa has brought the women's championship up to the level of the world's heavyweight championship, and that's not a bad thing. That's like a good thing. That's what you want it to be. And in my opinion, for whatever that's worth, if anything, is that these two titles, the 10 pounds of gold and the Burke, are like the most cherished, the most valuable, the most important championships in professional wrestling right now. And and this is a big deal for wrestling. And it's like up to all of you out there right now watching this. Like, if you could see this or hear us talking, it's, you guys get to dictate that. You guys get to dictate where the attention goes. You get to decide. You get to decide what you talk about most to your people. You get to dictate what you share with the people. And it could be that there's something else besides, dude, we do it because, I don't know, I signed back up for the WWE Network again tonight just because, like, Hell in the Cell's the thing and we're all watching it. But God dang it, I hated myself at the end. Like, I was just like, why am I watching this? Every time they annoy me. And it's like, and I'll give it to AEW, and AEW, like, they still have things that annoy me, but there's a lot of it that I find very entertaining. And but it's just like, man, out there in the world right now, there's the NWA, there's UWN, there's Mission Pro Wrestling, there's SWE Fury, which I haven't even checked out personally. I've just heard some people say it, so shout out to them. There's Tommy Dreamer's company. I forget the name of it, but I mean, there's so much stuff out there right now, and and you don't have to be locked into what's like handed to you. Is I think where I'm going with this. Like, you can choose to bring your attention to something else, but the important part is that you have to make it known. You have to say it. You have to put it out there on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You have to say it. You have to let people know that this is what you're interested in, because the people, we all know there's a whole world of people that don't give a shit about professional wrestling, and they're out there and they're controlling, they're pulling the strings of entertainment and television networks and all of those things. So you have to tell them, like, the other stuff you do care about, so that they feel like there's a reason to invest in these other opportunities. And this is the NWA podcast telling you, not just for the NWA, which God help us all, hopefully power's back in the next couple of months, but like MLW is coming back. ROH is back right now. Like, there's so much else out there. UWN puts out a show every Tuesday, and yeah, it'll cost you $10 a week, or $20 for a month worth. But like, if you want something different, it's going to take us making an effort. Am I sounding crazy, guys, right now? Like, I feel like I maybe sounded crazy.
No.
That's not why you.
I mean,
but
No, I'm just sitting here looking. So the WWE YouTube channel has 68.2 million subscribers. I would venture to say that at least a portion of those would love the type of wrestling that we love, and maybe they just don't even know it exists. So it's not that pro wrestling is dead, and it's not that, you know, nobody cares about it anymore. 68.2 million people cared enough to subscribe to WWE's YouTube channel to keep up with it. So I mean, the audience is out there, and that's our whole point for, you know, the hashtag NWA fam is we're not, this isn't like an elitist thing where we're saying, oh, our wrestling's better than your wrestling. We're just, to Gary's point, just trying to show people that you do have actually a ton of options. I mean, one that we haven't even mentioned is even New Japan. You know, I mean, it is more accessible here in America than it ever has been through you know, the New Japan Strong program that Marquez is helping out with, just the access to the streaming network through New Japan World, things like that. Like, we've got global wrestling, not just like indie promotions that we have here in America, which are great and are more accessible than they've ever been. But I mean, wrestling is it's here, and it is thriving despite what people will tell you. And I think part of it, this will be my rant for the night, I think part of the thing that sours people against wrestling is this like infighting of which wrestling is best. Well, there's just a ton of different wrestling. Like, I don't fight with people online about genres of music, right? Because I understand that, like, there's tons of genres. And if you love jazz fusion, I'm not going to make fun of you for that. I'm like, cool, you go do you know, I like that you like that kind of music, and go listen to it and buy all the albums and all that. It's like, if we would take that kind of mindset and apply it to wrestling, I think wrestling as a whole would be a better community. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you just like blew my mind with that, because I've never really considered it like that before, honestly. And maybe I'm an idiot, but I've never even thought about it as different genres of music. But it really is true. There's different stuff for everybody. Now, if I could put somebody over for a second, like front row, saying here, I miss being in the GPB studio. I will tell all of you, Stinson's had the experience a little, and Will, I don't think, has at all yet. And I have had the experience multiple times, in depth. All of you, anybody who can hear the sound of my voice right now, the one thing that I can tell you for sure about the NWA is that there is no other experience seeing professional wrestling like going to NWA Power. And that's why people are still begging for it. That's why people want it. Billy Corrigan, God bless him. Maybe he didn't even mean to, and maybe he doesn't even understand the power of it yet. But
like that,
there was something there. You know, I think of Pam from The Office, like standing in, like, I felt the Holy Spirit in Chili's tonight, or whatever it was she said. Like, it's like GBB Studios on NWA Power Nights is a different experience. The only thing I ever found to compare it to was what I imagined people at ECW feeling when they went to, like, the bingo halls, you know, and not because it was like brutal or not because it was bloody, just because it was a family. Like, it was the hashtag NWA fam. Everybody in that freaking place wanted this thing to be the best wrestling experience that could ever happen. And that was from the crowd to the participants in the ring. That was the people, like, around the ring filming the thing. I think I've told this story before, but like, I was like literally, like, at the time, you guys know, I was like with Rotella. Like, he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I want to talk to these camera guys." Like, I walked around and talked to the camera guys, like, when we had the opportunity during a VIP experience, and I talked to the camera guys. And dude, I made friends with the camera guys, and they were like, some of them were from WCW days, and they're like, "Yeah, I shot WCW." like Nitro. Like I was here for Nitro. They're like, you know what's different about this? He's like, everybody here is like, hey man, what's up? Like he's like, all the wrestlers come out, they talk to us, and they're like interacting with us. He's like, well, we were here for Nitro, like nobody gave a damn about what we were doing or who we were or anything. He's like, I even think it's cool you're talking to me right now. He's like, you know, he was like one of the camera guys, I remember sitting there talking to him. He was just like super stoked that we were having a conversation. And we had a conversation multiple nights that whole weekend. Like that we were hanging out. He was just happy to be there. And he was shooting a wrestling show. And he liked wrestling. And he wanted it to look good. And it was like everybody there cared about it being a thing. And I can take that back to you for the first weekend when it was Jim Cornette there and him telling you all the tips and tricks about like why he cared about it being successful, to when he was gone and Stu Bennett being there and being invested in this being successful. Everybody who walks into that studio wants it to be successful. They feel it. There's something different in GPB studios on NWA Power Time that you go, listen, it's not easy. You go like 3 to 4 hours without water or snacks. You can't eat popcorn in the stands. Like you can't have food or drink there. You take your bathroom breaks when it seems appropriate, but you're there because you're like, I love this shit. I want this to be successful. Like I'm feeling it. Like every bit of this is exciting and I want these storylines to work. And then at the end, you walk out to the lobby and every last one of those people is out there in the lobby and they're talking to you and they want to talk to you. They want to be there and they're having a conversation about like, thank you so much for coming. They may be trying to sell you a t-shirt or hoping you buy a t-shirt, but you don't have to buy a t-shirt. They'll still talk to you. They're still like, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for cheering or booing. Like it's a different level, man. Like I can't, it's an indie show that has the best attempt at succeeding. Like it's just, these people get it. Like they all get it. And most of the people in the NWA, they're there because they just want wrestling to work. And you feel it when you're there. So, you know, sorry, give me like once every couple of months to like really like delve into like rehash my experiences as GPB Studios. But I'm sure that like Will, once you're there, you'll feel the same way. And like Rob, you do the same. And it's like you get there. Fucking Zicky Dice was hanging out in there before he ever debuted on the show. Like he was hanging out at tables just watching the lobby. I saw him and I was like, who is that guy? Like, I feel like he's somebody, but I don't know who. And it was like before he ever debuted on the show, like he was there the first night, like when he was going to show up on the next night. And he was just there, just like enjoying the camaraderie, like just the people enjoying themselves, hanging out and doing stuff, and us getting together before the shows and after the shows. Like it's a whole thing, man. I don't even think that Billy Corgan knows.
No, and
honestly,
you talk history because I think you see the spirit of the power, the spirit of NWA Power continues on in like a Patreon talent call when you got like a front row in there and I'm in there and you're in there and we're teaming up, man, and just being fam. But there's only been a few times in history when the context, the environment has been that magical. You think of like what you're talking about, like the ECW arena. You think of Impact in Nashville at the fairgrounds. You think of the Sportatorium at World Class in Texas, in Dallas, and you got the GPB studio. There is something magical and even sacred about just being in the environment. Luckily for us, the relationships are so strong that the spirit is still there. Like I feel it. I felt it this week when me and Front Row were hanging out with Aaron Stevens in a chat. I felt like, man, we're at Power again, man. But there's something about the context, the environment that is just magical, and it's something that no one else can do. You have to. That's why GPB is so important. That's why it will always be in Atlanta. That's why Atlanta is NWA. Even like, look, when May Valentine and I were coming down from Nashville,
you knew we'd have to fit that in here somewhere.
Yeah, we saw the split. You know, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Actually, I live in Rossville, which is right on the border. I'm talking about 8 minutes from downtown Chattanooga, so I'm right on the border. But we're right at a 24-75 split, and you see the sign for Atlanta. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, how far are we from Atlanta? And can we go to the GPB studio?" And I'm like, "If you want to do that, that's where you're going to go. We're going right now, or we can go see this wrestling match." You know, but it's like, even, you know, it's just being in the proximity of Atlanta, man, and there's the sacredness. It's like Jerusalem, man. That is Jerusalem. The GPB.
Well, we're probably even, you know, like I'm throwing in like front row here saying Aaron was spectacular. It was fun to share stories on our shared hometown. Like, what other company is, I mean, yeah, sure, some of that's Carneyland, I guess, but it's like you've got an easy access path to interacting with the people. Rob, you didn't know May Valentine from anybody.
Yeah.
Like, and you just spent the weekend with her. I mean, these are regular people that care about wrestling, that just care about the fandom. May Valentine doesn't have to give a shit about some local indie promotion putting on a wrestling match. And Rob tempted her in with like, "Hey, what did you say that James Storm's going to be there? Like, we could hang out, like, blah, blah, blah." May Valentine was there.
That's not quite how it went down.
Well, it's kind of close.
You acting like I was seeking her out, man. I just happened to she's like, "Hey, I'm in Nashville. What's the deal?" I'm like, "Hey, you know, you're familiar with us. We've got a show coming on here in Chattanooga. In Chattanooga, if you're tired of Nashville, Chattanooga's very charming." And she was like, "Hey, tell me about this." You know, I was like, "Yeah," and James Storm will be there. She's like, "Can I come?" I was like, "Shoot, you know, if you need a way, we'll find a way to get you there. I'll come there. I don't live far from Nashville." So so she's like, "Man, I don't want to impose." I mean, she was very, very, very diplomatic and very humble and was non-intrusive. She wasn't like, "Hey," you know, she was like, I was like, "Hey, I don't want to weird you out. Like, but if you want to come, I will, you see our show. I'm not going to, take advantage of you or try to, but if you want to come, I would love to have 2 NWA talents at our show in one night, and I will come get you." And it was just, I'm so glad, man. I value that time. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I guess that's where the point that I was getting to is that by May Valentine being there, it was 100% 2 NWA talents being at this show, and she wasn't getting any extra money for doing that or anything like that. She was just there because, well, James Storm's also here, and I could enjoy some wrestling, and like she was just, I think that's where I was going with it, is like she was just trying to have fun too. Like she was just like, I enjoy wrestling. Like I just want to hang out. I just want to watch wrestling. Like let's do this. And she can have a good time. And that's what I'm trying to say about these NWA people. I mean, that's the beautiful part of the product. And yeah, unfortunately, the times we're in have dictated that people go their separate ways, but that doesn't mean they're passionate with anywhere else. That's the big part of what I think we're finding out as the Bearded Trio and you guys as fans. Like we're finding this, we're on the cusp of a new generation, a new level of wrestling fan. Like we're getting to see these people from the ground up. Like we're getting to see them like entering the arena of independent wrestling, and we're getting to see, like, I mean, my biggest one will always be Ricky Starks from this day forward, because I believe that Ricky Starks one day will be competing for the AEW World's Heavyweight Championship, or I believe Ricky Starks will be in the WWE. I believe that Ricky Starks has nothing but like just more and more highlights ahead of him. I think that Ricky Starks is the man, and Ricky Starks is a dude who appreciated day one when I hit him up and we started talking, and till the day he left the NWA, when I was like, Ricky, do you want to come on and just talk to the hashtag NWA fam and just talk to them before you leave, or like before you completely exited? And he was, I swear to God, like immediately, like right now, let's do it. Let's go ahead and talk right now, because I want them to know, like, this has nothing to do with the fans. This is just the next step in my career, and I have to do what's best for me. And Ricky Starks cared about the NWA. He cared about the fans of the NWA, and he wanted them to know, like, I mean, go back and listen to the interview. Like, he's saying, like, I'm moving on, but you can catch me like every week. I'll still be available to you. Like, I'm on social media. I'm still going to be putting it out like all the time. Like, Ricky Starks there's another side of Ricky Starks. He just cares. Like, and that's, I feel like I'm rambling, but like he just cares about the business. He cares about wrestling. I know you guys are laughing. God damn it.
Ooh.
What, Rob?
Can you say that, man?
What? You can't say what?
GD.
Oh, no, I did. That just
shouldn't.
You can't. If you're a Presbyterian, you can't say that.
I'm sorry that I said it.
But you're right, man. Everything you're saying besides that was spot on. Huh.
Good. Well, I thought you guys would have something to add.
We're just like, whew.
What do you add to that? You said it all, man.
And the other part I want to establish that James Lawrence keeps bringing up, and that that Front Row brought up before, is that the other side of it is that I said I don't even think Billy Corgan like gets it. He 100% like, it's not that I don't think he gets like that wrestling is valuable or that he doesn't care about the product. Despite what we think, like, Billy Corgan doesn't have to walk out and talk to the fans in the GPB studios each week when he was filming Power, and he 100% did. Not each week, like every night. Like, Billy Corgan walked out and spoke to the people of that are in GPB studios about NWA Power and thanked them all personally himself for being there, and told them, I mean, even in the times that 100% I was like, man, it's been a long night, I'm getting kind of tired. And it was like he knew. Almost like he's been a rock star his whole life or something, and he just knew how to manage a crowd or something. I don't know. He walked out and it was like, hey, man, it's been a long night. You guys have been here forever, but you guys make the show. We got 45 more minutes we need to get through, and it'll mean so much more if you guys are on it. Like, if you guys are at the top of your game, like, banging this out, like, let's do this. 45 more minutes. You got it? Like, come on, let's get it together. And like, he knew, anyway, I'm just saying, like, so I'm not doubting Billy Corgan's recognition of what he had. Thank you, Front Row. Treasured memories with Whiskey Gary on after Dark. There we are. Do you guys have anything to say? I feel like it's just me talking, and you guys are like, this fucking guy.
Well, I just think you had a lot to get off your chest. I hope you feel lighter. I hope you feel like you got it all out, because I think that was needed.
Therapy, bro.
No, here's the thing. I just think that no, man, I'm just saying.
Thing.
No, it's the same thing. I'm just saying, you guys just like left it at that. I'm saying, all I'm trying to tell you is that wrestling is great, and it can be great. I freaking hated Randy Orton winning the WWE title. I think that's stupid, but I don't have to dwell on it, because there's so much more wrestling out there. There's so much better wrestling. I feel
this is like we talked about the academy that we're starting. This is like the the counseling department. Courses by Dear Gary.
We make you watch Randy Orton win the title, and then we vent about it.
Now you're right, Gary. Man, everything you're saying is absolutely 100. I mean, there's something like the point is, man, wrestling is important. It's important. It's necessary. It's a good thing in this crazy freaking world that we live in. You know, if the worst thing in the world is ever coming up in here and debating whether or not AEW is legit or not, that's a pretty good problem to have. If I'm having to pick between, you know, which wrestling hero I wanted to rep on my T-shirt, that's a pretty good problem to have. You know, we're blessed. We're hashtag blessed, man.
Well, since you were there with your family, like, what was your experience like with, like, your time in GPB Studios?
Same thing, man. I mean, I remember one of my earliest memories is my dad taking us to the original tapings at Georgia Championship Wrestling, and was really just 2 or 3 blocks away from there on Techwood. And it was like being in a time machine, man. It's almost like, I tell you, I ran cross country in high school. I wrestled and ran cross country. And my grandmother passed away. She was I was pretty much raised by my grandma. She passed away. And then years later, when I got to the school that I'm at, I met up with a guy who teaches at a fellow school who happened to run cross country against me during those years. And he said, "Hey, man, I've got a video of us running cross country at the state cross country meet at Westminster, Georgia." And he let me borrow the tape because we were both in it. And in the background, I hear my grandmother talking. And I'd never heard this before. And this is years after she had passed away. And it was like hearing a ghost. And that's what it's like to be in the GPB studio. It's like you're surrounded by ghosts. It's like I literally walked in there, and I'm not an emotional. I get more emotional the older I get. And that's definitely after Petra was born, but it was very emotional. Like I was choked up and I had chills down my spine, and it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. And you cannot, there's no way to replicate our descriptions right now are falling very far short of what you can only know if you're there. I mean, it is magic. It is really haunting in a good way. It's chilling in a good way. It's spooky. It's like nothing I've never been to any kind of performance. I mean, I've been to postseason games. I've lived through years of disappointment with the Braves, Falcons, and Bulldogs. I've been blessed to have traveled and to have done a lot of cool things, but there is nothing in the world. There's no experience as a wrestling fan like being in that studio. Nothing like it. And it's so much so my wife's not even a wrestling fan, but her interest is like permanently peaked because of that experience.
Oh, I like that's 100% the other part of it. Is like if you have significant others or other family members that are not super fans of wrestling, they will be after being there. My wife is the same way. Like she doesn't, like she's watched wrestling with me for forever. I've told the story about, her favorite wrestlers were CM Punk and John Morrison for obvious reasons. Like she just thought they were hot, but CM Punk like participated in my engagement video to my wife, which is cool. But she went to GPB Studios and she felt bonded to all of Strictly Business. Like before they were Strictly Business, like she knew Tom Latimer, Royce Isaacs, Nick Aldis, and Camille. Like those were her favorite people, and they became like people she cared about, like legitimately as people. And she just liked being there to see them and to like communicate with them. And so it is a whole other thing. But leave it to Rob, by the way, to make it very relevant that in October he talks about going to a place that is filled with ghosts. So thank you, Rob, for making it very Halloween-y. Guys, is there anything else you want to top off before we like wrap this night up of random discussion that we've had and me being apparently drunkenly pissed off about Randy Orton winning the WWE Championship.
I think that about covers it.
Perfect. Well, all right. Well, again, thank you, everybody that hangs out with us, all of the hashtag NWA fam, anybody who's new, anybody who's seeing this later or now or whatever. Guys, thank you so much for being here. And just make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you share it with other people. Just that this could be a community, especially, trust us, going forward, of people that are just fans of wrestling, that just like wrestling. I think that's our goal going forward. We're going to talk more about that. But, yeah, I see Front Row talking about I ran into Ricky Morton in the lobby of the hotel, and he thanked me for being at the tapings. That blew my mind. Like, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Like, it legitimately is that way. When you go to these things, like at the Crockett Cup, I remember being in the hotel and like James Storm and Nick Aldis and everybody were down at the bar, just like hanging out, having a drink, like, or just hanging out, eating something before the next night. I've ran into Billy Corgan in the lobby and just hit him up. It was like, Mr. Corgan. And he like gave me a look of like, oh no, what is this person going to say? and I was just like, man, I had a great time at this show. This was amazing. Thank you. And he was like, oh yeah, thank you for showing up. And it was just like a casual interaction, you know, but it was just I think a lot of these people are even surprised about how cool it can be, like at these tapings and these events. But well, I mean, all of this is making me just wish Power was back, and I can't wait for NWA Power to be back. And it makes me thankful for Thunder Rosa, and it makes me thankful for Nick Aldis as the champions. We can't wait for the NWA to come back, and we can't wait to hang out with you guys again after UWN Primetime Live this Tuesday, where we'll see the first match between Peter Avalon and Chris Dickinson in the UWN Heavyweight Championship match. We'll see Ray Roses in action. We're going to see Thunder Rosa. I mean, the main event is Thunder Rosa defending the NWA Women's Championship against Serena Deeb. And we're going to see our boy, our champion, the champion of our hearts, Danny Limelight, and his boy Papa Esco, the Bodega, fighting the Real Money Bros. Hopefully working themselves into a UWN Tag Team Championship match. So I hope you guys will be here Tuesday night. Thank you for hanging out with us. Will, where are you at on the internet?
I am at Hey It's Will. As you can see, it's over here with one L everywhere except for TikTok, where I'm at heyitswill.com, which, as I mentioned before, is my new website / new livelihood. So go check that out and let me know what you think. Help me out and get the word out about that. And yeah, as you mentioned, I'll be back here on Tuesday, ready to hang out with everybody again.
Hey, and for what it's worth, like you guys, I mean, if you like what we do and you like the kind of stuff we do and you want to get the word out about some project, or you've decided that like maybe this is a thing you want to do, or talk about your favorite wrestling promotion or whatever, I don't want to ramble on too much about it, but like Will has provided so much value since I'm lucky to have had the connection to bring him on to the NWA pod, and you guys should definitely consider going to heyitswill.com and checking that out, because he's going to offer so much value to you if it's a thing you're considering doing, like how you can launch into doing your own thing, getting your voice out there as well.
Yeah, it's not just about websites. SEO, a lot of times people think that's just about websites. I'm going to be covering YouTube channel, best practices, how to grow your YouTube channel, and even podcasts, blogs, any of that kind of stuff, Instagram accounts, social media accounts. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff and you've got like a project or a brand that you're trying to grow, I'm going to be giving you a lot of really, really useful information through that. So check it out.
On a lighter note, if you have recently like interacted with any women on a weekend, like at a bar somewhere, and you've picked up an STD or anything like that, and you need to talk to someone about it, we have a doctor on board. His name is Dr. Stinson. This is Dr. Stinson. Rob, tell everybody where they can find you if they want to talk to you about the bumps on their PP.
Well, I would direct you over to newlivelihood.com. Nah, you can find me. Most of my activity is on Twitter and Instagram these days. I'm at This Is Dr. Stinson. I did my first ever independent TikTok video. Most of my stuff has been assisted through my brother and life partner Will over there. I've been sending them over to him. We had a time crunch. I had to get This Is NWA or This Is Pro Wrestling History out on short notice. So he's like, Rob, gosh, you're going to have to dig deep and do it on your own today, bro. So we pulled it together, man, and got it out. So I am also on Twitter at, I don't even know. It's probably This Is Dr. Stinson, I imagine. But I'm trying to look it up right now, man. Where am I at? Yes, at This Is Dr. Stinson. So there you go. On all the social
Beautiful.
media.
Love it. At Hance Will and at This Is Dr. Stinson. I am at This Is Gary Horn on all the social medias. The podcast is at the NWA Pod. Hope you guys will join us on Instagram, Twitter, all of the things. And we are so grateful for every single one of you who listens or watches or anything. So make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit like on these videos. It helps us get in front of more people. And of course, make sure you join us next Tuesday night after UWN Primetime Live. We'll be here live talking to you guys about that show. You never know who's going to show up, just like tonight, Thunder Rosa, randomly. Last week, Danny Limelight was here. So just hang out with us, talk to us. We love you guys. Until next Tuesday, enjoy your gravy cake.